Oh, alright, all that's it. Oh, hello, Ghost! Welcome to the stream! Thank you! Thank you for the birthday wish. I appreciate it. I'm fucking old now. I've got the last cup of coffee in the house, which is pretty weak because we're running low on grounds, but you know what? I'm warm. Got a little booze on the side. I'm doing alright. Hello, Evie. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. Alright. Aw, thank you, Evie. I appreciate it. I'm old as shit now. Oh well, guess we'll skip Psycho Soldier theme. Stupid controller. I hope y'all realize this is literally just going to be me reading Twine games and talking about them for like 4 hours. Set your expectations and set them early. All right. All right, got my sleeves rolled up. Sitting in a nice comfy position. Gonna have to get my suspenders on and pull my pants up as far as they go. Ready to not experience transphobia in the gay birthday stream? There is no transphobia in the stream. I don't really write transphobic characters because I just don't like there's obviously things to be said about writing that part of the trans experience. It's necessary, but that's not the kind of stuff I want to write. Speaking of which, it's 5 o'clock. So what you'll see here is our itch page. Looks like it's coming through on the stream, so I'm not going to worry about it. Occurs to me I'm going to have chat up on my phone again, isn't that right? I should have thought of that. Professional streamer knows what Z's doing. Don't even worry about it. I definitely know what I'm doing like a minute before it happens. Alright. Talking about the streamers themselves, but also, well, happy like a transphobia thing. Oh. Yeah. That's one of the kind of guiding principles to what I've been writing. Like, it's not that I don't think people should not write about transphobia. Obviously, that's not the case. It's more that I personally want to write things that are about queer experience and about queer people and are kind of like horrifying and terrifying, but also not because they're queer. Like I want queer people to be able to have horrible experiences just on their own, you know? Let everyone be terrible. That's what I'm getting at. All right, so we're going to go in reverse chronological order because my first one is the longest thing I have here, and I also have the most to say about it. So we're going to start with my most recent one called End of Life Care. This one does have some content warning. Oh, I remember to put in content warnings. Good for me. Biggest one is that this is about suicide. So, fun. But no homophobia, no transphobia, none of that stuff. Just good old-fashioned wanted to kill yourself for different reasons. I actually wrote this one just before U.S. went into quarantine, and some of my complaints with it, because it's about the U.S. healthcare system, and some of my complaints with it almost seem kind of quaint now in retrospect, but it's still... All right. And just so y'all know, it's going to be part live reading, and I'm going to be stopping pretty often to deliver commentary if I have anything I feel like saying, so let's get this on. A gentleman, mid-20s, probably a grad student, walks into the room and sits down at the counter. Thank you so much for coming in today. You nod. My name is Alex. Dr. Bittertongue will be with you in just a moment, but before she comes in, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Is that all right? You nod. Okay, first thing, can I get your birthday? You respond. Thanks. Pulls up a blank document on the computer screen in front of him. They always have us ask that, he adds. You shrug. You notice there's a slight delay when stuff is coming up. It's timed. I had it timed specifically so it would match when you're reading it to yourself in your head. So if you're like just a regular pace reading it in your head, like you don't do the fast reading like I know some people can do. I can't do that. That amazes me. It should be roughly in time with how you read it. I know it worked for Vivian, who was my test subject, so that's what I measured it towards. So, how are you doing today? Right now, at this moment, I'm doing okay, I guess, but I haven't really been doing great recently. I'm sorry to hear that, he responds, genuine concern in his voice. You nod. You'll notice that whenever you try to say something more elaborate, it gets reduced down to just a simple action. And are you in any kind of pain? No, not in any physical pain, no. Have you been using any recreational drugs? I drink once or twice a week, but that's about it. What kind of medication are you on? Wellbutrin and Prozac, I think. It says here you're also on Trazodone? Oh, yeah, I take that occasionally to help with sleep. I see. He quickly types a few notes on his computer before turning back to you. Is it okay if I take your blood pressure? Sure, I guess. You notice, like, whenever I go into the doctor's office, they always phrase it like, is it okay if I take, like, there's something about that particular phrasing that kind of irked me. Like, it doesn't matter if it's okay with me or not. You're here to do it. You got to do it anyway, right? If I want to be healthy, I need to do what you tell me to do. Hey, Mercury. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Carlos. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're all doing very well. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I know it doesn't seem relevant, but it's another one of those procedures, you know? He smiles at you as he takes your blood pressure, like the two of you are sharing a joke. Of course, the little flashing thing when he's taking your pressure. All right, that's all I need. Dr. Bittertongue will be with you in just a moment. He leaves. You wait. I always, so every single question from that segment was something that I had to sit down and kind of, go through with someone before, over the course of just a regular visit. And it's fine. It's in itself, that's all good. They need to know stuff about you, but this kind of feeling that they're trying to develop some weird sense of camaraderie with you is a little bit odd to me. Author commentary time. There's gonna be tons of author commentary. I'm sorry. I get to talk about myself, so I'm gonna use it for all it's worth. You wait. I tried to make these wait times feel uncomfortable, but not so long that they get truly exasperating. A kind lady late 30s, probably worked here a few years, walks into the room and sits down at the counter. Thank you so much for coming in today. You nod. This is a subtler thing, but now as we go into the second round here, you'll notice that the text is popping up faster than it had before. It's no longer like roughly timed to about how long you read it, and it just kind of shows up more rapidly. My name is Rachel. Dr. Bitterbark will be with you in just a moment, but before she comes in, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Is that all right? You nod. Okay, first thing, can I get your birthday? You respond. Thanks. She pulls up a blank document on the computer screen in front of her. They always have us ask that, she adds. You shrug. Wine reading stream? I would do that if I knew how to read wine. How does one read wine? So, how are you doing today? Not great, I guess. I'm sorry to hear that, she responds, genuine concern in her voice. You nod. The thing where whenever you have a more complicated response and it comes down to, and when you click on it and it goes through, it kind of compacts down to just you respond. It's meant to kind of make you feel like, oh, they're not really listening to what I say. They're just kind of waiting for those verbal cues before they move along. And you'll notice that the character gets less and less talkative as things go on here. Are you in any kind of pain? No. Have you been using any recreational drugs? I drink on occasion. What kind of medication are you on? Wellbutrin and Prozac? It says here you're also on trazodone? Only as needed. I see. She quickly types a few notes on her computer before turning back to you. Is it okay if I take your blood pressure? The last guy already took it. She looks surprised. Oh, he did? You nod. Silly me, she says, pulling up another document on the computer. I know stuff like that doesn't seem relevant, but it's another one of those procedures, you know? She smiles at you like the two of you are sharing a joke. All right, that's all I need. Dr. Bitterroot will be with you in just a moment. She leaves. You wait. I'm proud of that pause there. In the last go-round, you do some kind of response, but in this one, you just kind of sit there uncomfortably until she continues, and I'm glad with how uncomfortable that feels. So obviously at this point, you notice the gig is that, the people are asking you the same questions over and over, which is based on something I went through where I had like this parade of people, all none of whom were the doctor I was there to speak with, all come in and ask me like the same set of questions, and I'm like, what kind of Kafka-esque nightmare am I living in right now? Just let me speak to the person who's helping me, please. God damn. Oh. Also, aside from like the small modifications to account for how the player character speaks, like all the text is like exactly the same. The only thing is that changes are, you might notice one thing that's changed a couple of times so far. I know because of the gag was going to be that you had to do it several times in a row. I wanted to make sure that there was something else there to make sure the player wasn't completely losing it. So you notice that we've referred to the doctor who's seeing us by a litany of different names at this point. I think she's had at least 3 different names. So far, they've all been very similar because they've all started with bitter as the first syllable, but if you pay attention, her name keeps changing. An older woman, likely in her 60s, probably only a few years from retirement, walks into the room and sits down at the counter. Thank you so much for coming in today. You nod. And you'll notice that now that we're the third go-around, instead of like trying to time them or just having them come in like in slowly in quick succession, all the text is just appearing right now. That way, the third time around, you I'm not asking the player to sit there for a longer time again. They can just be like, oh, I know, I can kind of glaze over that and understand what's being written there. My name is Susanna. Dr. Battenhauer will be with you in just a moment, but before she comes in, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Is that all right? Okay, first thing, can I get your birthday? You respond. Thanks. She pulls up a blank document on the computer screen in front of her. They always have us ask that, she adds. You don't respond. Something about them all having the same asides and the same, in-jokes that they'll share with you is just delightful to me. It just makes it seem more like you're talking to a series of automaton that have, this very basic kind of, human interaction programming. Oh my gosh. Hi, Wave City! Jennifer, literally no different than being 20. That is so good to hear. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Also, you notice that one of the subtler things is that every single time one of these people comes in, they're pulling up a new document on the computer rather than looking at any of the other ones. So, how are you doing today? Badly. We change her answer, but it doesn't seem to change anything. I'm sorry to hear that, she responds, genuine concern in her voice. You don't respond. Are you in any kind of pain? No. Have you been using any recreational drugs? I drink. And now we've completely dismissed with any formalities in talking to them. We're just straight to the point. What kind of medication are you on? Wellbutrin, Prozac, Trazodone. All stuff I've been on at one point or another. I see. She quickly types in a few notes on her computer before turning back to you. Is it okay if I take your blood pressure? The first guy already took it. She looks surprised. Oh, I didn't change that. Oh, shoot. Streamer found an error in their own game. Oh, that's supposed to go down to you respond rather than Y'all, I think I fail at making Twine games. Oh, he did? You don't respond. Oh, silly me, she says, pulling up another document on the computer. I know stuff like that doesn't seem relevant, but it's another one of those procedures, you know? She smiles at you like the two of you are sharing a joke. All right, that's all I need. Dr. Beaverbother will be with you in just a moment. She leaves. You wait. At this point, it should become very clear to even like a casual reader that the doctor's name has changed like almost every single time it's shown up because Dr. Beaverbother. And then, finally, for the last go-round of this Kafka-esque nightmare, rather than having to click through again, the game kind of like brings you through it. And even though this stuff is only on screen for a moment there, I do make a point of all of the stuff is written out and all of the jokes are updated and stuff. So there are, I think at one point the doctor calls them Dr. Crash Bandicoot or something. Like, I don't remember. I need to actually pull up the game file, but anyway, after all that, finally, and I swear that's based on something that actually happened to me. It was a fucking psychological nightmare. God damn, I hate. Ugh. A woman who looks about half your age walks into the room and sits down at the counter. Thank you so much for coming in today. You nod. Hi, I'm Dr. Papadopoulos. I'll be with you in just a moment, but first I need to ask you a few questions. First thing, can I get your birthday? 4 people have asked me these questions already. She pauses for a moment. Pausing for a moment, then regards something on the computer monitor. So they have. Let's see what they wrote, shall we? You don't respond. She reaches behind the computer and pulls out a manila folder, which flies open as she grabs it. Several pages scatter all over the floor, but one remains firmly tucked under her thumb. Okay, so it looks like you're here to get a reference for the Pliny Clinic? You nod. One thing that Vivian didn't notice when I showed this to her the first time was that all of the people you talked to before now are entering their notes for you on the computer. And then when the doctor you finally want to talk to is here and like, oh, they left notes for me? That's great. They instead pull it out of a manila folder instead of anywhere that they could have typed beforehand, which is the kind of thing that makes me really happy. So, guess what? You didn't expect me to be explaining every single joke in this, but I'm going to. Can I ask when you want to get a reference to the clinic? I want to kill myself. I see. She nods to herself, eyes focused on the paper in her hand. Can I ask who recommended the clinic to you? My therapist did. And this is also based on an interaction I had with my doctor earlier this year when I was trying to get reference to a local clinic for dealing with constant suicidal ideation. As you can imagine, is just rife with humor. She thinks for a moment before turning over the piece of paper in her hand. According to your pre-appointment paperwork, you're currently seeing Dr. Humsworth? That's right. No, that doesn't quite match up. She turns over the sheet of paper in her hand. According to our records, you were seeing Dr. Timswell. Oh, I haven't seen him in a few years. Oh, that's too bad. He's one of the best in the area. Yeah, unfortunately, I got so depressed that I stopped going to therapy for a year or so. She gives you a quizzical glance. So you stopped seeing Dr. Timswell? Yes. He's like a rock star, you know. Yes, I have heard. That entire interaction is also based on a conversation I had with my therapist, where I had to explain why I hadn't been to therapy in a good long while and who my ex-therapist was, and no joke, as I'm trying to sit down and do intake with a new therapist, she's like, wait, you stopped seeing this other guy? He's like a rock star, you know. And I'm like, but I'm here trying to do intake paperwork with you. Jesus Christ, what is wrong? God damn. Oh my gosh. It is the most tone-deaf thing in the world. Huh, well, if you say so, she says, giving you a suspicious glance. Can't imagine why anyone would stop seeing him, of all people. You don't respond. I also like the idea that the person who's trying to help you is just constantly questioning your own motives and trying to get help for yourself. And it's like, I don't need to be fighting you at the same time, but it feels like I am. She turns over the piece of paper in her hand. Well, I reckon say you're always seeing some therapists, so why do you need to come to me? She told me that I needed to have someone at my primary care's location, said in the recommendation. Another subtler thing, you might have noticed she's turned over the piece of paper in her hand, I think 3 or 4 times at this point, without changing what paper it was. That was something that Vivian didn't notice when I had her play it, so I don't needed to, but I wanted it pointed out because I want credit for my funny jokes. But she's been standing there talking to you this entire time and flipping over the same one piece of paper in her hand over and over and over again. She furrows her brow and shakes her head. No, that's not right. What's not? Well, that just makes sense. According to this, she should be able to do it herself without even getting us involved. But she sent me here. She was certain that someone here needed to do it. Well, you should go back and talk to her. But she'll just send me here again. Again, based on something that I had to go through going to this clinic, both my primary care and therapist were convinced that the other person was the one who needed to be the one making the referral, and they both kept trying to push me off on the other one and get me into this like loop of going back. I'm like, no, stop this. What kind of... The more I laugh about these, the more I realize how horrific that actually was. Honestly, she sounds like kind of a sketchy therapist to me. You tried seeing Dr. Timswell? He's kind of a rock star. I don't know why I find it funny that she's being insistent about you going back to your old therapist after being brought up, but it makes me happy. Is there anything you can do for me? She turns over the piece of paper in her hand and examines it quizzically. Well, according to this, we should be able to send in the recommendation for you. Could you please do that then? And it did take a bunch of prodding before they would eventually do it for me. Well, suppose we could try. She rubs her chin in thought. I really should be your therapist, though, she grumbles. You don't respond. She closes the folder and puts it back behind the computer monitor. It slides off the countertop and wedges itself in between the desk and the floor. She then starts staring directly at you. What is it? I like the idea that she puts something back but then has no attention span for it beyond after that point, and it just kind of continues making a mess of the place. She doesn't respond, continuing to stare directly at you. What is it? She still doesn't respond, though on closer inspection it seems like she might actually be looking directly behind you. You turn around slowly. Behind you, a large rotary phone is attached to the wall. You scoot your chair slightly to the left, metal legs grating as they slide across the tile floor. And you wait. One other thing that I liked as a visual gag in this one is after you scoot your chair to get out of the way, your all of the main characters' text is now right adjusted because they had to scooch to the side. So they're over there, but everyone else is over on the other side. It's amusing to me, okay? She grabs the earpiece off the phone and starts entering the number, the rotary dial moving slowly back into place with each digit. It Seems to be taking a while. There was a big uncomfortable gap there that I talked over by accident, but after a while she groans aloud and places the earpiece back on the cradle. Is everything okay? She cracks her knuckles together, grabs a hold of the rotary dial, winds her arm up, and spins it as hard as she can. The dial continues to spin at an alarming pace, refusing to lose momentum. She continues to hold the receiver to her head, the continuous spinning filling the room with loud clacks. Speed dial, she explains. Wait. I think that's one of the funniest things I've ever written, and it's only amusing to me, so. I originally wanted to describe it as her, like, spinning it like she was on a game show or something, but I couldn't find a way to work that in without making it feel really awkward and clunky, so. Speed dial. Abruptly, the dial stops in place. You hear a faint dial tone from the phone earpiece. She frowns, staring in concentration at the wall behind you. The dial has begun to slowly rotate backwards. Suddenly, her face lightens up. I got someone. I'm going to put them on speakerphone, okay? You nod. Another thing that never goes explained is how she's putting someone on speakerphone when they're clearly using, like, a candlestick rotary phone. She puts the earpiece on top of the phone. The rotary dial continues slowly rotating backwards. Thank you for holding. This is someone whose name you won't remember. What can I do for you? Hi, this is Braintree XL, and I'm calling about getting referral to the Pliny Clinic. Yeah, sure, we can do that. You listen in. Okay, so the first thing you'll need is to contact someone with your primary care provider's office, and then... No. This is about one of my patients, she clarifies. Oh. Well, I guess we can do that too, I suppose. Great! She turns to you for a moment. They said they can do it. You nod. So what do you need from us? First thing we're going to need you to fill out this form. Which form? This form. Can we download it somewhere? No. Can you send it to us? What, like by email? Yes. No. Then how can we fill it out then? Fax to you or something. Sounds good. They say we need to fill out a form, she explains to you. Got it. This is one of two sections where I really needed to... I used my little auto text kind of cheat to make it seem like they're going back and forth, because the timing was super important, that there was kind of a back and forth between them. Because that really wouldn't work if something just kind of laid out. But I try not to do that as often, because it makes it harder for people who can't keep up with that pace of reading to, catch on, to keep reading with it. But I found it very amusing. Okay, second thing, the voice continues. We'll need the patient's notes. Her notes? Yes, her notes. Didn't your therapist send her notes? She asked you. I don't know. One thing that they like to talk about a lot in the U.S. healthcare system is, especially when you're a mental health patient, they love to talk about your notes. And that's all they refer to it as, and I'm sure there's like a reason for it, but as someone who has no idea what they're actually doing, it seemed very funny to me that they were just talking about some entity known as the notes, with a capital N. She turns back to the phone. Did her therapist send her notes? You hear rummaging noise on the other end of the line. No, I don't have any notes here. They say they don't have them, she says to you. Gotta have those notes, they explain. Wait, your psychiatrist works at this building, right? She asked you. Yes. Would her psychiatrist's notes be sufficient? The voice goes silent for a long time. This is highly irregular, they say. I'll have to get the chief involved. They say yes, she explains to you. You nod. I don't know why the phrase I'll have to get the chief involved is so funny to me, but let's see if I can get those notes, she says. She gets up and walks briskly across the room, feet crunching on the papers still scattered about the floor. The door slams behind her as she leaves. You wait. Oh, thank you for the birthday wishes, Zoe. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. I also love this is the first time since like a couple of pages ago that we've remembered that when our doctor originally took out a bunch of papers for us, they scattered all over the floor, and they've just kind of been there for the entire time. And of course, I'm never one to give up on a good awkward pause. She's sure taking a long time, huh? How do you know that she hasn't come back yet? Oh, I can see everything. She put us on FaceTime. Again, leaving up to the reader to determine how FaceTime is possible on a rotary phone. The door opens and the doctor walks back in again. She pauses and looks around the room, finally kneeling down and grabbing a fistful of papers seemingly at random. You wait. Okay, she gave us her notes. Great. Can we send them to you? What, like by email? Yes. No. Well, then how can we send them to you then? Guess you could fax them to us or something. Sounds good. They say we need to just fax these over. I don't know why that one interaction keeps being funny to me, but it is. So, if something's funny, do it twice. Not 3 times, but twice. Do you need anything else from us? No, that should be good. Good, and when should we hear back from you? I don't know, in like a week, I guess. Great, she says. It'll only be a few days, she explains to you. You nod. I also love the idea that she continually needs to explain it to you, even though you're clearly listening in, and her explanations are only slightly correct. We'll fax a copy of her notes over to you later today. Wait, faxes don't send the original document? The doctor leans over and immediately hangs up the earpiece. All right, looks like you should be all set on that end. Now, let's see about getting you through the next week. Okay. First thing, let's set you up for a follow-up appointment here next Friday. Okay. And you'll see your therapist at the regular time on Thursday, right? Yes. Okay, well, let's say you come back to the walk-in clinic tomorrow morning to see your regular psychiatrist. Okay. And let's get you an appointment with one of our social workers right on Monday, all right? Actually... Yeah, what's wrong? She asks, genuine concern in her voice. I have to work on most of these days, and I can't take that much time off and still keep my retail job. Oh, you'll need to stop that too, she replies. I mean, how do you expect to not be suicidal if you're working retail, of all things? But I need this job to provide me insurance to pay for all of these appointments. What? Why would you do all that? She asks. Just pay out of pocket. But I can't afford all that. Why not? It's only several $1,000s in a few months without a paycheck, right? Just think of it like an investment. In your future. You don't respond. Again, based on a conversation I had with my primary care at the time, who after I had visited trying to deal with suicidal ideation, kept trying to set me up for like this huge litany of appointments that I A, couldn't afford, and B, couldn't go to work around, and I couldn't explain to her that no, I need to go to work to afford to be able to do any of this. You can't just block me with appointments that I can't then afford to go to. It's a catch-22. Like, yeah, I'm sure doing all this would be very helpful for my mental health, and I'm sure not going to work would be incredibly helpful for my mental health, but I can't both afford to do all of this stuff to keep me healthy and make the time to do it. Yay! Catch-22. Oh, and before you go, let me give you some numbers to call in case you need immediate help. Okay? Okay, first here's the 24-hour suicide watch hotline. You'll want to call them if you have an emergency. Okay. They're staffed between 9 and 5 on weekdays. Okay. Then you want to call this line if you're feeling suicidal during evening hours. They're staffed between 3 and 11 p.m. on most weekdays. Now, if it's a federal holiday, you want to call the national hotline instead. They're between 11... So, you can't see all of it because it scrolls off the screen very quickly, but I did write out every single one of those gags. And it is... And the question here does follow up to that. And this is based on another experience where they kept giving me like different numbers to call at different times of the day, and it felt like they were asking me to do almost like a logic problem to figure out, okay, I'm feeling suicidal, but it's at 4 p.m. However, it's on a federal holiday, so I can't call this line, so I got to call this one, but they're only open every other week. It's like, how much, if someone's feeling suicidal, how much work are you trying to ask them to do, you know? But what if I'm feeling suicidal on a Sunday at midnight that's not adjacent to a federal holiday, but is during daylight savings time hours, all while Neptune is at perihelion? Well, then you're just fucked. I don't know, can't you hold on for another couple days or something? It's not always about you. Oh, and hand this to the receptionist on your way out. She'll know what to do. She hands you the piece of paper from her hand. It's a half-filled crossword puzzle. About half the squares are filled in, all of them the letter V. 27 across is a doozy, she says. You leave. And I'm also enamored with the idea that the piece of paper she's been looking at this entire time on both sides is just a crossword puzzle that she is not doing. Cool thing about this is that this isn't like an intentional effect of twine. That's just kind of something that happens with causing it to load certain effects over and over. It'll load them in one place before getting them right into position, and it creates this weird stuttering effect that I really like. Yeah, this is your primary care's location, psychiatrists, patients, outreach services, social workers, secretaries, temporary replacement calling. My reaching name withheld. I think any place that operates for mental health understands. That seems to be... That's a really good way of summarizing it, is that a lot of places that are supposedly there to operate to help you with your mental health don't understand what it's like to be living with terrible mental health. God, I hate it. Also, it's just funny to do the Spaceballs gag here. Great. Just wanted to let you know that your insurance denied you coverage for the Pliny Clinic. What? Yeah, it turns out your mental health insurance is handled by a different company than your regular health insurance. What? So if you wanted to go to this life-saving clinic that your therapist has been talking up to you for months at the best solution to your suicidal tendencies, you'll have to pay out of pocket. But I can afford that. Also, you owe us $25 copay for this phone call. And of course, that was the punchline in real life as well, and kind of what motivated me to write that one. That I got to the end of all of it, finally, got the paperwork done and pushed through all this stupid bullcrap in my way, and got the call back saying, hey, actually, yeah, they don't take your insurance. After my therapist had assured me that they would. And fun! Isn't this fun? Aren't we having fun? Isn't this fun, everyone? I like feeling depressed. Don't you like feeling depressed? Anyway, that's end of life care. I'm sure me stopping every couple of moments to explain the jokes didn't help it much, but you know what? That's just how it goes. Now we're going to move on to the one I'm least satisfied with, at this point anyway. I'm back. All right, continuing in reverse chronological order. We're now going to play my short story called Apogee. I love the idea behind this, and I love the way I did it, but this is one that I think I probably could make a little bit better. Could use another coat of polish on it. This story is best experienced with your browser window maximized. Yes. I don't think there are any content warnings for this one. It's just straight up horror. So, Apogee is the least you like. I love the idea behind Apogee, but in replaying it, I've noticed so many things that I could do better with it. I love the idea with it, but there are like so many small things that I can do better with it now. Like the timing is just slightly off, and there's different ways I know to do. It's one of the things I would think would benefit most from like going over it again with what I know now. That's what I mean. But I love the idea behind it still. It is an idea I'm enamored with. Initiating revival sequence. Initiating revival sequence. Please remain calm. Okay. Okay. Don't try to move or talk or anything, really. Just use your Neuralink. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I assure you that is only a feeling. Why can't I see anything? I have your brain isolated while your remaining body comes out of stasis. Please be patient. Okay. I love all the double talk I put in the front there. I'm a fan of that kind of thing. Where am I? You are currently away from the galactic plane at an angle of approximately radians. What kind of error? I apologize. It appears that our frame of reference has shifted dramatically. So much as to render our standard units of measurement and orientation meaningless. Sorry about that. Well, if you're waking me, does that mean I made it? Uncomfortable pause. Yes. From here, you should be able to view the entirety of the galaxy with your naked eye. Should. Why are you uncertain? I had to make some concessions to make sure your directive was achieved successfully. See, like, some of the stuff, like the timing where, like, concessions is meant to come in and kind of come in at, like, an odd time. Some of the timing stuff doesn't work as well as I thought it did at the time and could use, like, another go-round. That's what I mean. Like, it definitely needs a little bit of a tune-up. What? Concessions. Also, that little flickering thing that what is doing is another artifact of how Twine loads stuff in that I thought looked cool. It's not, like, an intentional effect. It shouldn't be happening that way, but because it does, I left it in, and I'm like, that's cool. Well, the original ship's design was not going to last you long. You know this. Yes. Designed you to disassemble and repurpose the ship en route to maximize the distance traveled. What did you do? Well, after the first or so, it was clear that a lot of the ship would need to be repurposed. For example, at the frame of reference you desired, your speed relative to the galaxy would be unnoticeable, so after you got speed, thrusters were dead weight. Okay. Additionally, you knew this was going to be a one-way trip. So any extra amenities like space to move around would be superfluous after achieving your directive, so I minimized the ship until it contained the minimum amount of space needed to keep you alive. Okay. But I did the math. Even after using all that mass to push your speed just a little further, it wasn't going to be enough. The life support for an entire human body was just taking too much energy to be sustainable. What did you do? So then I reasoned. Why would you need to keep your entire body alive? What, in all theory, all you would need are your eyes and a functioning nervous system in order to obtain the experience you desired. Wake me up now. But even if I rationed the energy properly, I realized it still wasn't going to be enough. Wake me up, computer! So I got rid of the only other thing consuming energy. Wake me up now! I got rid of myself. I'm not talking to an AI right now. Computer! This is just a recording, a basic facsimile to get you oriented before awakening. What did you do? I did what was necessary to achieve your directive. In a few seconds, the thawing process will be complete and you will open your eyes. Stop! Your eyes will be immobile, and facing a glass window oriented at the galactic plane. This isn't... You have around 30 seconds of life support remaining. You've traveled longer than aeons, further than the stars themselves to reach this point. Surely you must have realized the sacrifices required to make it here. But you will be the first. The first and likely only person to ever see their home galaxy from the outside with their own 2 eyes. Are you ready? It's time to wake up. It's so beautiful. And I do think this holds for exactly 30 seconds. Flare, because why not? Yeah. I think I could have had the text itself fade in a little bit better there. But aside from that, I'm happy with how that comes out. And I do think this is one of those moments where letting the 30 seconds play out is the right choice. Hey, see that blip on the radar? Yeah, I wonder what that was. Maybe their intergalactic drive failed. Huh, sucks to be them, I guess. Yeah. Nice view of the galaxy, though. Yeah. I don't know why. I almost didn't add in that last part at the ending, but I thought it was kind of a delightfully little bit of cruel twist of the knife at the very end. To have it end with the whole endeavor having been pointless anyway. Well, not pointless, but... I mean, in however many years since our main character originally launched, right? Anyway, that is Apogee. That is... It's the one the idea I love the most. I love that idea so much, but it could definitely use with another coat of polish now. I think I could get that even just a little bit tighter. All right, one more to go, and this one is the longest one. By far. Thank you all for sticking around so far. I know listening to me. Oh, thank you, Alice. Little Epilogue's a good addition. Okay. Oh, good. Both sadder, but also more her. Yeah. So this is a demo for what was originally going to be my first Twine project until I kind of couldn't continue working on it for various reasons. This is a... Oh, right. I remember this. I put an 18-year-old... I put an NSFW on this because it contains scenes. So it says demo, but this is already like longer than both of the other 2 things I've done combined. This is a project I definitely want to go back to, but for various reasons, it would need to be done from the ground up again. I do have the original game data and all that, so I don't have to like rewrite everything, but one of the things I did was this was done with a lot of very basic knowledge and things that were done in a way more difficult manner than they needed to. Excuse me. You love scenes? I love scenes too. Scenes are good. I do want to read like the description for this one because I do like... I was a fan of how I described this. You wake up vomiting in a decrepit bathroom. You don't know who you are, you don't know where you are, and some woman you've never met is insisting that you're part of some grand experiment that you've never heard of. But, honestly, it sounds like way more than you can handle right now. All you want to do is get somewhere safe, take a shower, and try to get a good night's sleep. This whole sci-fi intrigue thing sounds way too complicated. Sure, you could maybe investigate this corporation that seems to have a distressing amount of control over your life, but it sounds pretty hard, TBH. Why not just take a nap, drink some coffee, read a book? They're only going to experiment on you for a month, so why make it harder on yourself? Days Without Yesterday is a queer, depressing, and mildly horrific interactive novel about waking up in the cyberpunk future and just not having the spoons to deal with any of this shit. I do want to finish this project at some point. But a lot of my initial planning and scene orienting for it would have to change. And I would have to redo the structure for it from the ground up again. So it's something I do want to do, but I've been working on a kinetic novel on the side that I want to finish first before I go back to doing this, because I have the entire plot for this kind of like sketched out, so I know what to happen when, and I have an idea for a possible sequel to this one as well. But that's for future Eskay to deal with. You remember playing this one ages ago? I remember you were one of the first people who tried the demo for me, Mercury, and I appreciate it so much. You found one of the glitches, I think, that's still in it. Anyway, let's run this bad boy. God. And because this one is like is attempting to be like a demo for a full-fledged game, it's a little bit more elaborate than the other ones. The other ones are more like, I consider them more just like short stories, you know? They're like tiny little bites, whereas this was the basis for a full novel. Anyway, let's get some content warnings out of the way. Sequel in the Eskayverse? Yeah. No, it's more like when was this one again? This one was 2018, I think. It's been a little while. This interactive novel is intended for mature audiences. Depending on your decisions, it can feature scenes of bodily harm, suicidal ideation, physical assault, intense gender dysphoria, and consensual sexual activity. No matter what your decisions, you'll get graphic descriptions of depression, anxiety, and effluvia. And I don't know what I don't remember what happens if you hit not okay. Oh. I didn't remember that I put that in there. That's cool. Go past me. Past me knows what was up. Credits. It's just written by me, and Vivian helped me out with a lot of the more esoteric coding aspects of it. A lot of this was stuff that I did myself learning in Twine, but a lot of the finery around it, like getting the Twine bar to be a bookmark and help thing, that was with her assistance. And I can see all the names of everyone who playtested the original one. How kind. All right. Let's get this bread. You kneel on the cold tile floor, both hands grasping at the porcelain bowl in front of you. A nauseous feeling brews in your stomach as something starts to force its way up your throat. And of course, I know which ones did. Everything in this scene will take you in the same direction, but I'll try to maximize what we see here. You attempt to move your head to look around the room around you, but something deep within your gullet forces its way into your mouth, filling it with the sour tang of bile. Okay, fine, wretch. You begin to heave, forcing the rest of your stomach contents out of your mouth. Your hands shake as you grasp the sides of the bowl, grips slick with sweat as you try to keep your head properly positioned. You use one of your hands to try to push your sweat-soaked bangs out of your face, the motion causing your wrist to smear more grime onto your glasses. That's okay, you really didn't want to see any of this anyway. Burning bile starts to emerge from deep within your body, stinging your tongue as it passes out. It plops into the bowl in wet, thick waves, splashing small drops of the bowl's contents back onto your face. You're just now realizing you didn't get a chance to flush. I'll get to these in a moment. Continue retching. As the final wave passes out of your body, you finally get a chance to take a breath, causing the taste of mixed effluvia to fill your already soiled mouth and the stench of human waste to sting your nostrils. The sweat falling from your forehead in sheets turns cold, giving you a few moments of sick relief. You take a brief respite to catch your breath. Your mouth still tastes like shit and bile, but you do feel a bit calmer at least. Look around you. All right. Picked a wrong time to eat dinner. Yeah, no, this is the grossest it gets, though. And actually, you know what? While we're here, let me talk about the reason. One of the themes that I really wanted to hammer home in this game was that being an embodied consciousness is disgusting. Human bodies are disgusting, and I hate them. And I wanted to have a lot of scenes that were very visceral and physical and reminded you of the disgustingness of what it is like to be an embodied consciousness. So, it seems like they're frivolous, but I promise they're not. It's thematically relevant. Bodies are gross. Yeah, not just bodies are gross, but the act of being embodied is gross. You push back from the bowl and fall slack against the cracked tile wall behind you. A moistness seeps into the seat of your pants as you lean back, tucking your legs beneath you to take the strain off of your knees. You take your glasses off your face and rub the lenses and try to wipe them against the leg of your pants. You can see a bit better, but you really are going to want to clean those later. You seem to be in a single-occupancy restroom, furnished somewhere between metro station after the bars close and gas station restroom without a key. The porcelain toilet shows signs of rust around its base where untold months of neglect towards the dust and grime buildup has caused it to turn a maroonish brown. A metal sink juts out from the wall, its faucet dripping rhythmically into the empty bowl. The mirror above it is still attached to the wall behind it, though the numerous cracks through its face suggest this is not for a lack of trying. A cardboard tube with 2.5 squares of 1-ply hangs on a bar from the cracked tile wall. The door is located in the wall beside you. Alright, so this is like the first actual puzzle of the game. And kind of how I wanted to orient it. I wanted to have it go back and forth between small kind of like open-ish puzzle or adventure-based segments where you had different things you needed to do, and you could accomplish them in different ways. And then segments that were very linear to kind of like just move the story forward, you know. Not to say that it doesn't move the story forward here, but in a different way. One of the things I did was the save system, which isn't perfect. The save system relies on Actually, we could take a look at it. So you can bookmark your progress. The problem with this, and I didn't realize this till afterwards, is that because this is one of the first things I did with Twine, almost everything that it checks is checked through a history lookup rather than a variable. What that means is that basically every time I wanted to refer to something you had done earlier in the story, and there was a lot, the game basically had to check whether or not you had been on that page rather than a certain variable was set to a certain way, which is a lot easier way of doing it. And because I insisted on doing it in such a difficult and stupid way, basically every single thing in this game that updates is this weird nested set of if-and statements that is way more complicated than it would be if I did it literally any other way. It worked, and I'm frankly surprised it does, considering how weird some of the dependencies get. But, that's that thing. The other thing is that this is technically another page it's bringing up rather than like a menu. And one of the things I enjoyed that I did about the game was that whenever you came back to a passage for a second time, it would be like the first time you visited a passage, it would be very florid and descriptive, but the second time it'd be more like, it'd shorten up so that way you could get to the various links around without having to read through the entire thing again, which I think is a good idea. But even though we haven't moved off this page technically, now it shows you the shortened version of it, which something I'll fix in the next one. Doing something weird when you try to reload a save. Yeah, so the saves don't work because again, they're dependent on the history. And because everything in this game is just another page, there's no menu or anything. And even when you go to the title screen, it's saving that as part of your history. So when you go back in and, if I quit it out now and played it, if I did this scene, quit out, and then played it from the top without restarting the entire game, then it's still going to see that, you've been to these pages before, so you've done all this. So it's not going to work. Which is another reason why it'd have to be rewritten from the ground up. Baby's first twine. Not graceful, but we made it. Exactly. See, Mercury knows what's up. The other cool thing I liked, and this is something I want to keep doing with anything else I do like this, is there's a help feature. This game has a help feature. Using this feature will spoil some minor parts of the story and is recommended that you play without using it. However, if you are stuck or have forgotten what to do, it will tell you what your objectives are and how to accomplish them. I think this is a great idea, and most games should have this, because nothing is worse than getting through a game and realizing you don't know what to do. And I realized in a Twine game like this, where it wasn't always clear what your objectives were, it was helpful to have a safety to be like, oh shit, I need to remember what I'm doing right now. Especially considering in the scene later on, it's asking you to keep track of 5 objectives at once, which is a bit much. Anyway, so right now, all you need to do right now is leave the restroom, right? So right now you don't even know that there's a puzzle here. But if you try to leave the room, the rusty handle creaks in your hand as you pull the door open. You only get the barest glimpse of a fluorescent lit hallway before a woman leaning on the wall beside the door turns to look at you. "What the hell is on your face?" she asks disgustedly. "For fuck's sake, clean yourself up before you come out." She grabs the door handle from you and forces the door shut again. Find a way to clean yourself up, my guy. Now, help feature sounds better than scouring GameFAQ for. Exactly. One other thing about the scene is that is not the only way to figure out that that's the puzzle you need to solve. If you instead of leaving, you try looking at yourself in the mirror, you can see that your face is covered in like disgusting crap, and learn that you need to do that first. That way, either way, there's multiple ways of learning what the puzzle is, and there's multiple ways of solving it. So I believe we can look. Let's poke around for a little bit before we decide what to do here, because I'm going to show off as much as I can. This is also kind of like a double puzzle area. Like there's something you need to do to get out, and then there's kind of like a hidden thing you can pick up. Because obviously right now we just need to find a way to clean our face, and you can also just click on the one ply and decide to do it from there. Despite how little is left in the roll, you can tell instinctively that it wasn't hung the way you prefer it. You know, whichever way that is. It's not a lot, but you suppose you could use the last few bits to clean yourself up. You know how to execute it technically at the time is a mood, TBH? Yeah. But, like, she sounds like a mom. She's not a mom. She's just pissed off and tired. We're not going to do that one, because I want to show some of the other ones. And also, my mouse needs to cooperate with me. Thank you. And the reason I wanted it to shorten them up after you visit them once is because it'll just display them as like almost a menu after you're done with a certain area. Let's see. Check out the metal sink. Water drips rhythmically from the rusted rim of the sink. Some of it collects in small pools formed by the aged metal bowl, creating tide pools of debris. I used the word pool twice in that sentence. That feels awkward. Radiating outward from the center of the drain is a small brown stain. You give it a closer look, just to make sure it isn't moving. Thankfully, it's not mold, it's just blood. Suppose you could try to clean yourself up with the tap water. You crank the handles on the sink, but unfortunately, it doesn't work. It was worth a shot. The other solution here, I believe, is much harder to find, and I don't know why I made it that way, but we'll look at it. I'm not going to click on this link yet, because there are 3 different hidden links in this area. And if you click on them, there's 3 different scenes you can get of the main character kind of suddenly becoming cognizant of the fact that they don't know who they are or what they're doing here. It's possible to get through the scene without doing those, although it's kind of hard if you're clicking on a lot of things. But there's 3 different ways it can come about, and that changes a couple of things down the road. A toilet bowl is full of brackish slurry of human fluvia and sewer backwash. A lump of something is drifting in the fecal eddies. A lump of whatever you had for lunch is drifting in the fecal eddies. An extravagant cobweb connects the base of the toilet to the back wall, where a small arachnid hurriedly removes itself from view. One of the things you can do for no apparent reason is try to flush the toilet. Hidden links, where's Zelda? Don't you get me started. Unfortunately, trying to flush the toilet just causes the plumbing to make some gurgling sounds. You back up and narrowly avoid getting another face full of fluids. Probably shouldn't do that again. But of course, you can. There's no penalty for it. I think it changes the line of dialogue later, but despite your better instincts, you try to flush the toilet again. This time, gross septic water seeps into the bowl, adding to the repulsive slurry already there. Climbs up and starts to spill over onto the floor before another large chunking sound stops it. Some of the mixture still spills over, adding to the moistness on the floor. A wispy, turgid bit of feces flows onto your sneakers. You can feel it begin to soak through the old, thin material. Seriously, why did you do that? And if you try to do it a 3rd time, you feel very strongly that you're going to stay away from the toilet handle from now on. I don't remember if... I think someone does... I think the lady we're going to meet in a moment here does mention it to you if you fuck up that badly. But I firmly believe that being able to make bad decisions is part of what makes stuff like this fun. Let's check out the mirror. The mirror has a single crack down its center with several minor tributary scratches splaying out from it. A rusted handle is attached to its side. And if you praise your appearance... So this is where you could also find out that you need to clean yourself up. If you take the time to go to the mirror and look at yourself before you leave, then it would remind you that you need to clean yourself up. You finally get a good look at yourself, and holy shit, do you not look good. Your black hair is matted against your face with sweat, your glasses hang haphazardly off the bridge of your nose, and a viscous mixture of fluids appears to be coating your mouth and chin. A single pinkish rivulet has begun to run down your neck, contrasting with your darker complexion. I can also examine what you're wearing. You're wearing a pair of sweatpants, which feels like a generous description to you. You can count the threads where the knees are frayed, and its gray color has somehow grayed further with age. You're also wearing a cotton t-shirt that may have once been described as white. A pale, pinkish stain is visible near your torso, and some asparagus piss yellow logo is emblazoned across your chest. The sweat still running from your head makes it easy to see that you're wearing a black sports bra underneath. Oh, shit. That was one of the ones. So that was one of 3 parts where investigating something further about yourself causes you to realize that you don't know who you are. Isn't bad decisions what makes life fun? Exactly. You have breasts. Why weren't you aware of that? You look down at your shirt and stare at the 2 mounds of flesh protruding from your chest as if to confirm that, yes, they really are there. But as you stare down at them, something starts to feel wrong to you. Aren't they supposed to be shaped differently? Shouldn't someone your size have larger ones than this? You start to run your hands up and down, your arms, your trunk, your legs, realizing with increasing alarm that you don't even know the contours of your own body. Every inch of skin, every bend and crease, every wrinkled, stretched, scared, hairy, sweaty part of your body seems unnaturally foreign to you. You pinch yourself on the skin you're sure doesn't belong to you. This is not a dream. This is not the concoction of some devil to make you feel like a prisoner in your own disgusting body. This ill-proportioned sack of meat is all that you can know, and it repulses you. But before you can consider it further, another thought crosses your mind. What the hell's between your legs? With mounting apprehension, you slowly bring up one of your hands to your crotch. It's not what you had feared, and that brings you some relief. Right up to the moment you realize that your own body is such a foreign object that you had to grope yourself to get the answer. Everything about your body feels wrong because it is wrong. It's not that you merely exist in the wrong body. This lump of meat, this impossibly foreign sack of organs and fluids is you. And yet, who are you? How can you be so certain your body is so wrong if you don't even know who you are? You feel so confident in your belief that this is wrong, that this is some cosmic joke molded in human clay, and yet you can't even recognize the contours of your own flesh without feeling yourself up. You take a long breath, exhale deeply, and focus your mind before it can spiral out again. You're still not sure who you are. You're not sure why everything about yourself feels so inherently wrong, but you do know that you can handle this. Whatever might be happening, whatever is going to happen in the next few minutes, is something you can handle. After all, you've managed to live this long with something much worse. Anyway. Dysphoria be like, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's one of 3 different scenes you can get. The other ones you can do is if you're investigating the sink and you look at the blood stain instead. If we hadn't clicked the other one and we clicked this net and we click, it would take us to a different descriptive scene like that. But if we try and investigate it now, it's just like a lot of people have used this restroom, judging by the looks of it. Someone probably slipped on the slick floor or cut their hand on the glass or something. Not that it's super important, really. You've got bigger issues at the moment. Anyway. And the other one is if you notice the toilet and the lump of something, and you can question that you don't know that you don't actually remember what you had for lunch. Come to think of it, you don't actually remember what you had for lunch. Oh well, probably doesn't matter. You've had plenty of lunches before. Probably. Anyway. So, I don't know why I liked the idea of having multiple ways of having that revelation, but all of them are different kinds of revelations about your body. You should look it up for yourself. You can play this game at 8pr.itch.io and leave a 5-star rating. Helps people find my games in the algorithm. That's the same one now. A little bit shorter. Okay, pull that handle. Right, so the other thing we can find over here. You pull the handle on the mirror, causing it to creep open. Creak open. It hangs perilously on a single hinge. Inside are several plastic shelves stacked with translucent orange containers. The seals seem to be recent, and the containers, unlike everything else in the bathroom, are dust-free, giving you a clear view of the fluids inside. The container labeled Dolores E number 1 seems to be particularly translucent. Good for Dolores. Wait, I wrote a twine imsim? What's an imsim? I don't know what that is. Also, this bit right here was a reference to a novel I was reading at the time. I don't remember the author's name. Oh, hold on, I can see it on my shelf over there. Let me grab it real quick. I'm back. So, that's a reference to a character from the novel Mem, M-E-M. It's by Bethany C. Morrow, and I highly recommend it. It's a nice kind of retro sci-fi thing that I heavily recommend you try reading. It's pretty short, but should be out in paperback by now, come to think of it. Immersive sim. Like Deus Ex, because you have multiple roads to everything. Oh, yeah. I thought that was kind of important. That not everything has multiple roads leading to it, but there's always, like, more than one way to do things. I don't think it's that, like... it's not that in-depth, but, you know. I'm holding the video game controller for my Switch as if that's going to help me right now. Hello, Michael. Anyway, if you search the cabinet... You carefully shuffle some of the containers around, ignoring the stench and trying not to get any fluids on you as you search. You find a dusty pack of moist wipes, no longer moist. Not really sure how old they are, but you suppose you could use them to clean yourself up. And this is the other way you can find to clean yourself up. I don't know why this one's significantly harder than the other one, but if you're poking around, you'll find it. You carefully tear open the dusty pack of wipes. Though the tissues inside look their age, you wad them up and start to wipe the fluids from your face. Soon you consider yourself finished. Not really sure how good of a job you did, but you're pretty sure you got it all. Guess that'll just have to do. You felt that with the wipes? Yeah. Ugh. Okay. Oh, I should be checking this more often just to make sure this works. Yeah, so if we had checked that at any point during the last couple moments, it would have said, hey, your objective is to clean yourself up. But now it's like, you're clean, just you need to leave the restroom. I'm like, okay. Even small stuff like that I think is really helpful just to kind of... Finally, you feel prepared enough to leave this horrid bathroom. Grats on that. I don't know, I love the tone that I took with the remarks to yourself as you're moving from page to page. I don't know why it works so well, but I think that is it's good tone for them to have. You step out into the hallway, which doesn't seem to be in better repair. Sickly fluorescent lighting colors everything in a bruised shade of yellow. A small mound of stucco is piled up on the floor, and what's left of the walls is visibly flaking. You don't see any windows, only rows upon rows of closed doors. A woman leans up from the wall adjacent to the door. She sizes you up, standing a good head above your own height. She's dressed casually enough, blue jeans, black t-shirt, and an opened evergreen jacket with more pockets than you can count. You can tell she's impressively fit. Her tight jeans show the dimension of her calves, and her arms bulge slightly in her jacket sleeves. Her hair is bound up in a severe bun, but that seems to be more for convenience than style. She wears no makeup you can see, and no jewelry save for a single, nondescript ring around one finger. Took you long enough, she says, turning to walk down the hallway and motioning for you to follow her. Come on, let's get this over with. So, this is another thing where you have multiple ways of handling this situation. You can either, like, comply with her, kind of, try to cause some trouble, or kind of follow her. You can try to yeet the hell out of there, or, and this is an option you only get if you had that revelation about yourself in the bathroom, one of those three ways, is you can tell her straight up you don't know who you are. However, we're going to fuck that go the other direction because I know how much we can get away with before it causes penalties. You immediately turn the other direction and start running down the hallway. As your footsteps start to echo down the hallway, you hear the woman yell behind you, "That way is a dead end, dumbass." Sure enough, within a few yards, just past your small island of gross fluorescent lighting, God, that is hard to say, the hallway ends with only a door off to the side. Only a locked door off to the side. The woman starts to talk as she slowly closes the gap between the two of you. "Honey, I know you're probably scared right now, and none of this is making any sense to you, but you're my 10th case today, and I don't fucking have it in me anymore. Can you just come with me so I can debrief you and get you the hell out of here? Please?" And this is kind of like your last warning. You can piss her off more if you want to, but there are repercussions for doing that. Because I want to see more of this content, I'm going to say, fine, follow her. And you can decide to follow her at that point, without any additional repercussions. She leads you down the hallway and opens another door, motioning for you to go inside. You can try to book it again, but it's... yeah. She opens the door to a cramped, dusty room. She takes a plastic chair on one side of a battered wooden table. Offhandedly, she gestures at the chair opposite her. You pull out the chair and take a seat. "I am Dr. Suki, a representative of Semiotech's experimental division," she begins, kicking her feet up onto the table. You notice there's a dirty spot directly underneath her boots. She probably has done this a bunch of times today. "More importantly," she continues, "your name is Genwona Sue." She pulls out a manila folder from somewhere and throws it across the table at you in a manner you're sure she's practiced before. It slides to a halt barely an inch from the edge of the table where you sit. She pulls out a slick phone in a chunky orange case from her jacket pocket and sets it on the table in front of you. It's already been queued up to a video. With the tap of her finger, it starts. So there's a bunch of things in this one. Because I suck at naming things, a lot of the names in this are actually from other things. Semiotech, you might recognize from the Murakami novel Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. That's one of the ones that's going to have to get renamed at some point, but I have no idea how to just name like a corporation that sounds vaguely cybertech and vaguely evil. Also, her name, Genwona, is a pun. It is a very, very tortured pun. I know I've explained it to Mercury, so don't spoil it, but if you know what it's a pun on, let me know. Anyway, she's going to queue up a video for it. If we try to do the help button in this section, by the way, it'll say, "You're in a linear segment. Just keep clicking on stuff and you will advance." Manila, your favorite flavor of clam? Nice. Jen wanna sue? No, she doesn't want to sue. Oh, I believe her last name, Sue, was a reference to a real person, actually. Sue Meck, I believe was her name. Who had one of the very few documented cases of complete retrograde amnesia, which is surprisingly rare, it turns out. I am so proud of that gag. It took me a long-ass time to figure out how to make Twine do that, and when I did, I was very happy, okay? Where you got the name? So the name is made up entirely. Let's see. Dr. Suki sighs, picks up her phone and turns it around, all while muttering something about orientation sensors. She restarts the video. You also notice during certain segments I took away the bookmark and help thing just because it kind of distracted from the flow. So if it was sufficiently linear, I kind of took it away at times to make sure that it wasn't just getting in the way of stuff. The woman in the video sits and stares at the camera with a bored look on her face, one finger twirling her long black hair in hand. It takes a moment, but you recognize yourself in the video. You're wearing the same cotton t-shirt with the same piss yellow logo on it, which you can clearly read as Semiotech. The stain on your shirt, however, is curiously absent. She begins to talk again. If you hadn't looked in the mirror and appraised what you were wearing, this scene would be different. You wouldn't be able to recognize yourself from what you were wearing, and it would take you kind of longer to realize that, oh, that's me I'm looking at. We got the name. And he's just rare. He's the guys lied to me. Yeah, I know they did, right? She had IRL protagonist. Basically, her story was actually kind of tragic, so I don't want to make like light of it, because it turns out forgetting everything about your past as an adult is actually very traumatic. But yeah, basically. My name is Jen Wanna Sue, and I consent, of my own will, without duress, to be a test subject for Project Scummer. Please continue reading. In exchange for participating in the program for a period not to exceed 1 month, Semiotech will agree to waive all charges that... Please continue reading. You can't make me read this crap. No one is making you, Jen. You know that's not true. Stop fucking pretending that all you care about me and... No, you... So, one thing about that scene is you'll notice there were 2 voices playing at once, which is very hard to do with my own mouth because I'm not able to talk twice. And I realized partway through that as cool as that is, it might also be very difficult for people to read. So, if you wait on a thing for 30 seconds, if you wait on any one of the pages for about 30 seconds after a scene like that, you'll get a little link that'll let you watch those cutscenes one more time. It's kind of a very... It's not a very great fix, but, you know, it'll do. But just in case, like, you couldn't, like, just in case it was moving too fast or you couldn't keep up with the reading, I wanted to make sure there was a way to see it again. I think when I redo it, I'm going to have it just set so you can either have... For the cutscenes, you can either have... There will be just a rewatch button just right there, or... You can have an option to just not have them happen and just read them as text, or you can just have them play as recommended, just to make sure that there's different ways. One of the first things you find on Real Life Sue in Google is her getting her degree again at 45. Yeah, no, she did well. But some of the stuff that she went through is kind of not great. You should read her biography if you can. Hold on. Ugh. Okay. You can only watch them twice, though. I don't know why I decided twice was the limit, but after that, you can't watch them again. Dr. Suki quickly reaches across the table and touches the screen again, pausing the video. Oh, that coffee is cold. Dr. Suki slides her phone back into her pocket. Project Scummer is the codename for a procedure we're testing that copies the entire data of one consciousness at a single point in time, storing it so that it can be then restored to the subject at a later date. She kicks her legs back up, resuming her relaxed posture. However, as a quirk of the current methodology, it induces a state in the subject somewhat like complete retrograde amnesia. She pauses, reaching for an insulated mug that you hadn't noticed. Raising it to her lips, she takes a sip. Ugh, I hate lukewarm coffee. She takes another sip. Especially pod coffee. You wait for a moment while she downs another gulp, swallowing it with a disgusted look on her face before continuing. The dossier in front of you has all the information about yourself that you thought you should know, as well as copies of the documents you signed granting Semiotech the proper permissions and rights. So, if you had tried to run away from Suki at every available opportunity, I think there's like 3, you have to run away from her like 3 different times. She will treat you like an asshole in this scene. She, instead of being like friendly and like understanding, she will just call you a piece of shit and not give you any time of day. And that changes the amount of information you're willing to get. Because during this scene, when we open the folder up here, we're presented with a series of 3 documents. Normally, you're able to look at 2 of them before you continue, but if you're an asshole to her, then she'll only let you look at 1 before you're forced to kind of move along, so you get less information about yourself. The upside is that she'll talk to you about other things that you wouldn't get to learn any other way. So you do get like a little bit of extra information. I wanted to make it so that way there wasn't like a wrong way where you get kind of locked out of important things, but I also want to make sure kind of like you had different information than each way you played it. One other thing. The name, Project Scummer. If you can guess what that is, that is a pretty blatant reference to the act of save scumming. It was what it was based on, because it's essentially like, oh, that didn't go well. Load up your old save. Try again. It's not a perfect analogy, obviously, because the rest of the world doesn't reset around you, but it's like doing that, but with your brain bits. You actually went that route? It's really... Yeah! Like, she is an asshole to you. I had a lot of fun writing that, too. You carefully open the folder she hands you. You're surprised to see that it contains actual dead tree documents, though you're not sure what else you expected from an actual manila folder, nor why you possess these assumptions. The first group of documents appears to be a bunch of dense medical records, clipped neatly at the top. One group of documents is haphazardly stapled, pages uneven, with a sheet that says volunteer identification form across the top. Another set of documents appears to be some kind of dense legalese, which you're not looking forward to. You wonder where on earth to begin. Save scumming when I heard it? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It is exactly save scumming, but IRL. Changes a lot of things in retrospect. It does, doesn't it, Carlos? Maybe you should play this game for yourself on Twitch and try the other options, and then leave a 5-star rating so more people can see it. Because it makes it clear that she's acting differently. Anyway, probably one of the best ones for us to... I think the volunteer identification form gives you the most info about yourself. You pick out the set of documents with the volunteer identification form on top and start to page through them. You must have filled these out yourself, judging from the nature of the questions and the terrible penmanship. You don't know much about yourself, but you seem pretty certain you'd be the kind of person with terrible handwriting. The first page lists a bunch of banal facts about yourself, such as your middle name, Sierra, your reported orientation, asexual, polyamorous, panromantic, and your reported gender identity and pronouns. A hastily drawn picture of a cartoon shark eating a stick figure yelling, "Capitalism!" It's unclear whether it's the stick figure or the shark who is yelling. How do you put 5 stars on YouTube? I don't think you can. I meant on itch you can rate games after you've played them. And you should. At 8pr.itch.io. I don't know why this is amusing to me, but it is, so it's in there. Also, this seemed like the easiest way to kind of do like an info dump for who you were without making it seem really forced. Like reading a really boring form of that about yourself that you had to fill in seems like the best way to do it. Honestly, you're not sure what good it does you to know your age, 25, or your sexual history. Depends on your definition of sex, followed by something illegibly crammed into the remaining 6th of the box on the form. But you suppose it's somewhere to start, anyway. There's another page. The second page is titled Emergency Contacts. It starts with a series of blanks at the top labeled Parents or Guardians, and 2 appear to be filled in, both labeled Father. Those must be your dads, you guess. Only 2 other names appear on the list, one labeled as Roommate, and the other as Fuck Buddy who would take a bullet for me. You try to memorize some of the names for later, but you can't seem to hold on to them for very long. Oh good, you suck with names. That seems to fit it with everything else you've learned about yourself. That's about all that's useful here. Hey, Code Zero. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoy listening to me read and explain my own Twine games to people. You put that one to the side and look at the other 2. In terms of what you get the most info out of, the last one is the one I couldn't find like the best rationale for, and I always struggled with like what information you should be able to get out of that. But you do get a bit more of information about yourself through the medical records, so. You pick up your medical records and scan through the first page. It's a surprisingly detailed medical history. Everything from childhood sicknesses, pneumonia, varicella, acute otis media, and injuries, fractured both forearms, probably doing something stupid, to recent surgeries, appendectomy, vaginoplasty, breast biopsy, and current medications, sertraline, estradiol, vitamin D supplements, and a couple of larger words you can't easily parse. There's more. Second page takes you a second to parse. It's clear that it's your own body represented there, but only after squinting at the text do you realize what it's for. It appears to be a complete breakdown of all your biological identifiers, from finger and thumbprints to your DNA sequence. Obviously not the whole thing, just its serial number in the national database. Even banal things such as your eye color, hazel, skin tone, sepia brown, and hair color, natural brown dyed black, are recorded. That's about all that's useful here. Oh my god, they were roommates? Wait, who were roommates? What? Ugh. Also, you'll notice that that's the only way that you find out, at least before one particular scene. That's the only way to find out at this point that the main character is trans. I wanted to make sure it was in there some way that would feel natural how it came up, but also I didn't, it feels weird to have people just going around and be like, hey, how's my trans daughter doing? You know, it's like, no one talks like that. So. And then this section opens up a bit more. Before you can reach for another part of the documents, Dr. Suki coughs aloud. Usually people have more questions for me at this point, of some kind. You tried to avoid her gaze. You'd really rather just keep reading, but it seems like she's expecting you to answer. Is that what you're supposed to do? Probably. And you don't actually have to ask her everything here. There is a question that will just kind of advance everything, and you'll get a little bit of a warning from the game. The game will be like, hey, if you ask this question, it'll continue on. And just in case, just so that way you don't get stuck moving on without having asked everything. You didn't get that you are trans because you didn't get the folder? See, there you go. There you go, because it's not important to learn. At least until later on. Wait, what? Take the opportunity to ask questions of Dr. Suki. When you're done, ask her what will happen when you come back in a month to advance. So the game tells you how you could just move on if you're done. We're just gonna go through though. What kind of person was I? If you're referring to the stuff you wrote on your intake form, she replies, gesturing at the papers you were reading, you were kind of obnoxious, very opinionated, very firm, and absolutely annoying to be around. But my boss told me it defeats the whole point if we don't let you answer them the way you want to, so I guess thank yourself for that. Also, the questions you get to ask her are different based on what you get to read about yourself. So if there are documents you don't get to read, that means you don't get to ask questions following up on the information in those documents. God, this was way too elaborate. Why did I make it like this? What are all these medications here? Most of them are things that your own doctor has you prescribed, she says. From where I'm sitting, it looks like you were probably dealing with some pretty rough depression. Yeah, that fits. Semiotech has added a few prescriptions, though, she adds, and I recommend you keep up with them. They'll prevent any unwanted side effects from the procedure, keep unusual pain at bay, stuff like that. Seems sensible. Can I see the rest of that video? If you're an asshole to her, or rather, if you try to run away and she starts acting like an asshole to you, she will not let you watch the rest of the video. You are just locked out of watching that because you were an asshole. I mean, if you really want to, she says, pulling her phone out the back of her pocket. I think you went on like that for a while, so let me get to the part where you resume. Here we go. She taps her finger on the display a few times, fast-forwarding past you, making some angry faces. She takes an extra second to make sure the display is facing the right direction before hitting play. Agree to waive all charges resulting from the aforementioned incident. Aforementioned? Really? Please continue without further editorializing. Withdrawing before the end of the testing period, or refusing to participate for the full duration, will void this contract, and Semiotech will pursue any and all charges related to the incident on... So it's blackmail, huh? If you insist on trying our patience. No, I get it. No one would ever agree to this unless you force them to. Makes perfect sense. I would just appreciate you being upfront about it. I think we have all that we need. No, wait. Please, don't do this. I'll do anything. Anything but that. Please. What if we ever replace the pod coffee? You sick fucks. You absolutely monstrous. So yeah, I thought the double text thing worked really well as kind of like showing that people are talking on top of each other. And like they're trying to interrupt each other and just move on. But it is hard to kind of like read as one person, which is, I guess, is an unfortunate aspect of it. Dr. Suki stops the video again, placing her phone back in her pocket. Clearly you are under a lot of mental stress at this point. I don't really understand where your outbursts were coming from. At every step of this process, we've bent over backwards to receive your consent before proceeding. I guess that's all you're going to see of that. And of course, you can watch it one more time if you want to, and I did appreciate that even the doctors in that video are drinking terrible vodka. Is that refreshing every 30 seconds? Did I forget to make it stop refreshing every 30 seconds and only do it once? I totally did. Son of a bitch. What am I supposed to do for a month? Whatever you want, really. Just keep doing what it is you feel like doing. There are really no wrong answers. No matter what you do, we'll get good information back. I think the video format was really cool. Oh, that's good to hear. I like it as a way of kind of conveying a very rapid-fire dialogue in Twine, which is hard to do otherwise. And it's hard to kind of express people talking on top of each other. It's going to come back again a couple times because I figured out how to do it once, and then what if I did this all the time? What if I don't come back in a month? She raises an eyebrow slightly. Not like that. She laughs a little. No, I get what you mean. I'd be pretty curious too. Basically, nothing. You just never get your memories back, and you just retain everything happening from here on out. She pauses. As far as we've seen, anyway. That's why we're still testing. She tilts her head slightly. And also why it's very important that you come back. Makes sense. What if I get sick or injured? Don't worry, we have the best medical staff in the world on hand, and as long as you're participating in our research trials, you'll have full access to them. That is actually pretty reassuring, come to think of it. Also, all of the questions you're asking, you can ask her the same questions if she's being an asshole to you, but she will answer them very, very differently, which I suggest you check out. It's actually pretty fascinating, she says. The autopersonal transference procedure, or AT procedure, works by copying a person's total neurological state, and her pace starts to quicken as she gets into the details of how the procedure works. You don't really have context for any of the terms she's throwing out, so you just nod and let her speak for a while. Eventually, she seems to run herself out and find an opportunity to get another word in, edgewise. Also, yes, the name of the procedure is a reference to Evangelion, because I'm a fucking nerd. What if the procedure fails? Don't worry about that. The current version of the AT procedure has a 90% success rate so far, and in the rare cases where issues have come up, almost all subjects have made a full recovery. She sighs. Seriously, I'm required to say it like that, but if it makes you feel any better, it's something I felt confident enough to have done to myself. Well, that's better than nothing, you suppose. Which, again, is the best way to play it. Is the best way to play, so go play it. Yeah, there you go. Go play. Why is it called the autopersonal transference procedure? It's a temporary name, she says, waving the question off. And because also I'm a total nerd, there's your token Steins Gate reference. So what happens when I come back in a month? So if we hadn't asked every question of her yet, there would be a little prompt there where she's like, you sure you want to get into this? You know, nothing else you want to ask me first? Something like that. Just to make sure that I didn't catch any of the players off guard. She slides you over some paperwork. This is your return agreement. Basically, it's just an agreement that you'll be back here in a month, and also for the weekly check-ins. You could stay here for the whole month if you really wanted to, but we get better data when you interact with the world in a more meaningful way. She pulls out a pen and hands it to you. Just sign on the dotted line there, and we'll be done here. You push your hesitation and doubts aside as you sign. Not really sure how you signed that. It just kind of felt natural to your hand. Also, if you had looked at the legal paperwork and seen your signature, you would have had a comment about it here as well. She takes the document from you and places it carefully in a manila folder, then takes her seat again at the opposite end of it. I really like manila folders, don't I? I don't know. There's something very clinical and impersonal about putting documents in a manila folder that just, well, I really like. So deal with it. And then takes her seat again at the opposite end of the table. She kicks up her legs, pulls out her phone, and starts tapping away. You wait in uncomfortable silence as she uses her phone. Ignoring your presence, you get a brief glance at the screen and see that she's playing some kind of video game involving humanoid lizards and scantily clad men. She lifts her eyes back toward you. Oh, what? You're still awake? I thought for sure I had measured that, right? As if on cue, you start to feel a heaviness behind your eyelids and your limbs start to falter with unexpected exhaustion. Ah, there it goes, she says, returning her attention to her phone. Sleep tight, Jen. See you in a week. Title screen. I really wanted to get, like, if I ever finish this up, I really do want to get, like, some music to play during this bit here. Nothing, like, big, but just, like, some chords fading in with the words. Fuck. Fucking hell, Jared. They're waking up. Sedate them now. You don't remember waking up. You do remember the gross white lights filling your pained eyes like the blinding fluorescence of Solace itself. You remember being a flame consumed by its embrace, reborn from the ashes. You remember your body contorted like a marionette dancing to its arrhythmic pulses. Not sure why you associate Solace with such sublime agony. You're pretty sure it's a total dick. You do remember lying on the bed. They wouldn't let you move for a long time. That was probably for the best. After all, you deserved this. Why is that? She's playing Raid Shadow Legends. That's exactly what she's doing. She's playing Raid Shadow Legends. Also, because it's another one where there's a lot going on there, we have the option to watch it again, and we can see what's going on with the doctors this time. I like how it starts fuzzier because they're further away in your head and you can't really hear them just yet. Sedate them now. Get them strapped down. Their heartbeat is regular. Get me the sticky pads. What the hell, Jared? Fucking Jared, am I right? The fucking paddles then. Oh, they're stabilizing. Oh, sweet solace. So one of the things I had to look up going into that was when someone actually uses a defibrillator, and it's not to revive someone, but to keep if your heartbeat becomes irregular. And also, usually they don't use defibrillators anymore. They use just sticky pads, which is why I had to throw in the comment about them not having sticky pads ready and it being Jared's fault, which is why they did the defibrillator and why I got to have that, clear. I think it worked really well, and I'm happy with how that scene turned out. Because remember, after all, you deserved this. Oh, wait, are we done now? Do you remember anything else about that evening? None of these answers, all of the answers are the same. There's no difference between them. I just couldn't decide how, I imagine in that position, I wouldn't know what kind of way to respond to someone, and just having a bunch of different answers flashing through my head and not knowing how to pick at them, and that's the best way I thought to represent that. Defibrillators are more body horror. Exactly. Bodies suck. You're laying down in a wide bed, covered in nondescript white sheets. The back of the bed is inclined, propping your body up and giving you a view of the room around you. Beside the bed, a man sits in a plastic chair, one of those weird ones that looks like it was cut from a pair of cubes. His legs are crossed, and a tablet is propped against his knees. He idly twirls a stylus about his fingertips. Do you remember anything you shared with me in our previous discussion? Still no. The man sighs and leans back in his chair. He idly taps the stylus across the tablet. His other hand I use that phrase a lot. I need to rephrase that at least once. His other hand stroking his exposed chin. Let's start a bit more basic then. The mask around his mouth stretches emphatically, attempting to close the remove from his distant clinical questions. He leans in closer, eyes staring from behind the fogged lenses of his glasses. Can you remember your name? And this scene will change depending on what information you got about yourself. If you don't know your name, you can't answer with your name. If you don't, and your middle name? So if you don't know your middle name, you can't answer. You know your name at this point because Suki tells you. But if you don't know your middle name, you can't answer. Uh-huh. He drags his stylus across the face of the tablet, muttering to himself. Do you know your age? 25. He makes a series of quick marks on the tablet. Place of birth? No. He continues muttering to himself for a few seconds. Your parents? I have 2 fathers, I think. Okay. Puts down his tablet and renews eye contact with you. Okay, Jen. Based on our discussions earlier and your responses now, I have a hunch as to what might be going on. What is it? He leans in. Jen, what is the last thing you remember? I remember reading about myself. He nods. You did have a small period of lucidity a few hours ago. We tried to get you to confirm some basic information about yourself in that evening, but no, most of your answers were complete nonsense. Do you remember anything else? I remember trying to run away. That sounds about right, he says. The night they found you, the emergency crew, you had so much crap in your system that, hold on. He swipes across his tablet a few times, frowning with concern. Here it is. The people that brought you in, they mentioned that you fought and wrestled them off you. Tried several times to run away. It looks like you weren't able to get far, but still. He trails off. Do you remember anything else? I remember vomiting. Well, you did. Vomit, I mean. A lot. I don't know what to tell you. I remember some sort of experiment. He sighs heavily. See, that's the one we have trouble with, Jen. Of all your false memories, that's the only one we can't seem to place. Also, all the things that you supposedly remembered during that section will change depending on what actions you took during the first part. So if you didn't run away from Suki, you'd remember something else. And the vomiting always happens. But there are small differences depending on what you did during the first part that would change what you remember here. What are you talking about? Jen, do you even know why you're here? Before you can respond, he answers his own question. Of course you don't. Let me explain. He takes a deep breath. A few nights ago, you suffered from a terrible overdose. Found in an abandoned building with more substances in your system than anyone should be able to handle. You were admitted here and we did everything we could, but they were so late in getting to you. He pauses for a moment. There's no easy way to say this, but you've suffered from incredible brain damage, mostly centered in your hippocampus. You've irrevocably damaged your memory. You seem to have near total retrograde amnesia, and judging from your most recent memories have formed, you're still suffering immense trauma that's inhibiting your ability to form new memories correctly. Jen, there's no experiment. Best we can tell, this experiment is the best thing your traumatized brain came up with to deal with so many experiences you couldn't understand at the same time. He sighs heavily. I know this is going to be tough for you to accept, but those few memories you do have, the ones you shared in our previous conversation, they didn't happen. You were never trapped in a dark basement. You never read some, how did you describe it, dossier of your most personal details. And while you did spend some time vomiting in our bathroom, almost none of that happened as you described. I know this is going to be difficult because you've already lost so much, but if you're ever going to move forward, you need to accept that those events didn't happen. Oh, hey, it's Total Recall. Shut up. Phil K. Dick did a lot of it beforehand, but I swear this is an original version of it, okay? He races onward before you can ask him what he means. This is all moving way too fast for you. Now there's some good news. Cognitively, you're doing much better than you were earlier, which gives us some hope for your future. If you're able to form coherent memories now, there's a good chakne? Good chakne. Chakne is what I wrote there. It's a good chakne. You'll be able to resume some semblance of your normal life. Thankfully, you also have one of the foremost experts in the area available to help you if you like. He presses a call button. Nurse, can you send in Dr. Amelia? She's dressed sharply in a dark gray pantsuit, her hair pulled back into a severe knot. Her glasses hang on the edge of her nose, chains leading back around her neck. She carries a tablet in one hand, tucked underneath her arm, with her other hand resting atop, as if to prevent it from escaping. She glances around the room before her eyes come to rest on yours, where she levels an expressionless stare. She stands almost a full head above you. But what troubles you most is that she looks exactly like Dr. Suki. You try to wrestle your way from the bed, whether in anger or in horror, you're not sure. The doctor who is interviewing you quickly rises and pins you down, yelling something you cannot hear. Dr. Suki also recoils backwards, letting out a distressed scream. No, 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 I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. The doctor on top of you starts addressing you directly. Jen, focus. Listen to me. He keeps you pinned down, growling into your ear as you struggle. We tried to bring her in last time you were lucid, but you were still muddling through your memories. You started projecting things onto her. Other people begin to rush into the room, taking control of your body. Your limbs are pinned down and strapped to the bed. Jen, this person named Suki isn't real, he explains, regaining his composure. This is Amelia, and she's the best person in the region to help you gain the ability to form coherent memories again. He gestures towards Dr. Suki, who is cowering in the corner, eyes wide with fear. She keeps muttering under her breath, Not again, not again, not again. Another person comes by and stabs a needle into your arm. You feel yourself falling asleep. Please, let her help you. Week 0. Initial thoughts should not have been picked for scummer. Passive personality, history of anxiety, depression, related, gender dysphoria, prone to nausea, vomiting, exacerbated by AT procedure, will not be useful results. So, the way I had the game framed was that every certain amount of scenes would be framed as different weeks. So, the first week of the experiment, obviously, a week hasn't passed yet. It's week 0. So these are supposed to allegedly like the initial notes on your condition and how you're faring in the experiment. And they will change. I feel like none of this happened in the playthrough. The no, it's a dream. None of that happened. What are you talking about? This was all there. Should have been. It's not a dream. It's just malformed memories. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, depending on what choices you make during each week, the evaluation you'd get as a result of the experiment check-ins would change. And present day, present time. That was completely unnecessary for that to be in there, but I was rewatching Lane at the time, and I'm like, that's funny. I'm going to put that in. You were discharged the next day. One of your fathers picked you up from the hospital and brought you to their home. Thankfully, you don't live with them. However, that didn't stop the afternoon from being awkward. 2 of them sat you down in their nicely furnished living room and asked you all kinds of questions. How you were doing, what you were feeling, what you remembered, and what you couldn't. You tried to muster some kind of feeling for your fathers, and you did feel a little bad when you couldn't, but during that awkward silence as one of them drove you to stay at your apartment, you still can't remember his name. What the hell is wrong with you? You kept wondering if there was something defective with you. Shouldn't that love be the kind of thing you feel in your bones? Or in your heart, or whatever? And as he dropped you off and filled in your roommate, apartment mate, flatmate, on your accident, all you wanted to do was be in a dark room by yourself so you could turn off your senses from overloading your consciousness with sensory data and possibly sob uncontrollably. Thankfully, your roommate, what was her name, damn it, kindly brings you to your bedroom without any fanfare. It's like when you swear that you forgot to lock your front door, but when you go back to check, yep, it's locked. Oh, you meant doing the... Oh, I get you now, Mercury. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I wonder what that scene was about. Probably not important. Don't worry about it. I also don't want to give away too much of how everything interacts with each other in case I do finish it. But anything in that like that's resolved in the front bit here, I'm definitely gonna just talk about it. And as she closes the door, leaving you sitting alone on your bed with nothing but a white plastic bag containing your supposed personal effects, you finally decide that, yes, now is a good time to sob uncontrollably. You lay down on this bed you've never seen before, grab a pillow you don't remember owning, and choke out a scream. Tears flow freely and sting your eyes with salt as you sob in the pillow. The stress, the anxiety, the fear, the anger, all of it seems to collect into a viscous blend of psychic nausea that whelms your senses and forces submission to its evacuation. You can have a panic attack starting at any single one of these. We're going to start with fear. The fear of making a single wrong move, of making any kind of mistake, of giving yourself away to everyone around you, of exposing yourself to them, making yourself a target for their hostility. Which leads to this aimless anger of being thrust without warning into such a situation, having no say in your being. There was no way out for you, no right thing you should have done. Some baseless sense of injustice rooted in impossible cosmic scorekeeping, which fills you with stress of needing to perform this role you've been thrust into, this person you know nothing about and whose well-being and caretaking you've suddenly become responsible for, which is only compounded by your anxiety of so many unknowns, of not knowing who you are, who you're meant to be, what you're supposed to be doing, the worry that if you make one wrong move, you'll fuck everything up, not just for yourself, but for everyone around, which creates this all-pervasive fear of making it, and continues on, and it's a big loop of anxieties, as you might imagine. Having a panic attack. I felt it was the best way to represent having a panic attack, because when you get into situations like that, you kind of, your thoughts start to spiral, and it's very, very difficult to regain control of them. Stop. You wrench yourself out of the loop before you can go any further. Stop. Take a deep breath. Focus. You can do this. Stop. Breathe. You take a few moments to catch your breath. It takes a while, but eventually you calm yourself down. Your eyes are still wet with tears of fright, and I've spelled fright wrong there. Fright and exhaustion, but at least you can think somewhat clearly now. You want nothing more than to just go to sleep and move on with this entire day, but unfortunately, you reason that there are some things you just need to take care of. You should eat dinner, for one. You're not starving, but damn if you aren't hungry. You should take a shower, because honestly, you feel super gross. And finally, you need to take your medications. You're going to let yourself fall behind those on day one. And you know what? You can handle that. So this is the point where, just like real life, this is the point where the game kind of opens up into the second puzzle sequence. I don't know if it's really a puzzle. This one's less of a puzzle and more of like an adventure game sequence where you have a bunch of objectives and you get to complete them however you want to. You collect yourself, wipe the tears from your eyes, and take a look around your bedroom. You're sitting on top of a wide, sparse bed from which you have a good vantage point for the rest of the room. Across from you, an old, dusty television sits on top of a wooden chest of drawers. Standing next to your bed is a tall floor fan, and besides that is a large desk where you have a computer set up. The rest of the wall space is taken up by a large bookcase as well as framed picture. There's also a closet in one wall and a window showing the night outside in another. The final door leads into the rest of your apartment. So now if we go over to the help section, it will helpfully list all of your objectives. So that way you never feel like, because I realized asking players to keep track of like 5 things to do at once was a bit much. So not call it a puzzle? No, it's too chill for... Yeah, it's not really a puzzle. It's more... It's like an adventure game sequence. It's a puzzle in the mechanical sense, I guess. Anyway, you have a few objectives right now. You need to take your medications. The ones newly prescribed to you from the hospital are in the white plastic bag you brought home with you, which you threw into the desk in your bedroom. The thing about the help thing is that it tells you explicitly where and how to do the things, just to make sure that there's no miscommunication. So, like, you need to do this objective, here's where you go how to do it. Because if you're using the help function, I figure you probably want the answer, right? You feel gross, so you definitely need to take a shower. It's located in the bathroom. You're hungry, so you want to eat dinner. There's probably something in the kitchen you can eat. And you also have unknown objectives. I also wrote it so that way there's no way you can finish the first 3 objectives without also learning what your other 2 objectives are. So even though it says there are unknown objectives, like, you will not be able to finish the other ones without finding out the other ones. So just to make sure that players don't get stuck. Funny thing you can do. You can dirtle your fan for a long time. Your fan is off. Next to your bed stands a tall, upright fan. The power light is on, and some other lights indicate your preferences have been set. You assume, anyway. You suppose you can turn it on. You reach over and turn the fan on. The fan hums, and the breeze starts to fill the room. Though it does make you slightly more chilly, the combination of cool air and soothing white noise is rather pleasant. Okay, good. Suppose you can turn it back off. Reach over and turn the fan back off. Okay, good. So I have it so that way you can dirtle the fan as much as you want. However, the game won't start to call you out on it until you've done it. I think it's like you have to go through the thing 4 times, and then the game starts to call you out on it and says, you reach over and turn the fan back off. Despite the delight it brings you, you assume that your flatmate would find the noise from the constant toggling of your fan to be very annoying. Okay, good. Forgot most but not all of the things on the bookshelf. We'll get to the bookcase in a little bit, don't you worry. And if you keep toggling the fan, I think every 4 times you toggle it, there will be something different. It just stops after a while, but it's like it's actually obnoxious getting to the top of it. So if you really want to see me call the player an asshole, that's toggle the fan a bunch of times. All right, so now that we're in our bedroom, if you lay down on your bed, you lie back on your bed and let yourself stare at the ceiling. The bed is rather wide, though your feet still dangle over the end a little bit. You're laying atop the nicely tucked sheets, though you do grab the soft blanket lying on top and curling yourself into it. Don't want to mess with your sheets just yet. It's nice and warm, and the fabric feels comforting in your hands. You're not quite ready to sleep yet. You feel like you could close your eyes and take stock of your evening. Your phone is also within arm's reach. So, phone. You can access your phone and your computer. However, I didn't have anything written for them yet when I finished this demo, so I just made it so you couldn't get into them. You pick up your phone and realize that it's locked, and you don't have the code for it. Super helpful, that. Oh well. If I do decide to finish this up at some point, the phone and computer, finding how to unlock them will become optional things that will get you an additional information. And if you decide to rest your eyes, you close your eyes and try to rest, but your mind keeps racing, thinking of everything you have on your plate this evening. If you've forgotten some of your objectives, use the help button located on the sidebar. Oh great, you're hearing voices again. That way the game has a little way of reminding you that, oh, if you forget what you need to do, got the big question mark right over here. Don't worry about it. Other things you can do in your bedroom before we go out to the rest of our... because there is a lot. I don't know why I made the bedroom this elaborate when most of it doesn't do anything. You walk over towards your desk, pulling out the chair and fussing as it rolls unevenly over the carpeted floor. You sit down and immediately attempt to recline, the back of the chair responding in kind and settling in at a comfortable angle. From here, you survey the contents of your desk. Most of the desk space is taken up by your computer setup, a large monitor, keyboard, and various peripherals plugged into resting on TEP desktop. Look at that. Look at this casual right here, leaving typos in their demo. Who the hell does that? The only other thing in your desk is the bag of your personal effects from the hospital, and we'll want to take that for later. You open up the white plastic bag you brought home from the hospital and go through its contents. Firstly, you take out your wadded up, dirty clothing. Apparently, this is what you were wearing when you were brought to the hospital. You wad them up and stick them in the hamper next to your dresser. Good enough. You put those aside and pick up a small, clear bag. It seems to have various studs and rings in it. That's a little bit more than you expected. You put those into your pocket for now, since you'll need a mirror to do anything about them, and you probably should clean them before putting them in. Another small bag has some orange bottles inside and a crisp, printed list of instructions for each of them. There's actually seem to be more than listed on they're actually present in your bag. You probably have your usual medications somewhere else. You also pocket those for now, since you'll need to find your other medications first. Sweet solace, your outfit has such roomy pockets. Part of you wonders if Dr. Suki's dossier is anywhere in here. Of course it isn't. You need to stop thinking like that. There is, however, a brief handwritten note. You scan it carefully and it details how to properly care for your vagina. It looks like you'll need to find your dilators, as the note calls them. Might as well add that to the list of things you need to do tonight. There doesn't appear to be anything else inside. Aight, good. Gamer girl setup, exactly. So, like I said, you can't take your medications without learning about one of your other objectives, which is you need to dilate. If you try to go to your computer, it'll stop you because I didn't know what to do with it yet. You try to wake up your computer only to discover yourself stuck at a login screen. Unfortunately, you don't know the password. Oh well. What else is in our bedroom? We have our closet. You open up the door to your closet and take a look inside. It's small, but you see that you fit some clothes on the rack. Admittedly, they're more strewn than hung. There are also some random boxes stacked on the floor just behind the clothing. You sift through the boxes looking for anything important. Most of them are either empty or contain nothing interesting, but one of them does catch your eye. In a partially open box is a folded-up blanket. Looks rather comfortable, actually. Wonder why you would leave something so inherently snugly in your closet when you could, sleep with it. Let's take that blanket. You reach up to pick up the blanket and, holy shit, why is it so heavy? Carefully, you heave the blanket upward and stand upright. You suspect it's almost 10% of your own weight, which is frankly ridiculous for a freaking blanket. Regardless, you've gotten it this far, so you bring it to your bed and leave it on top for when you decide to sleep. Well, that was something. So yeah, Jen has a gamer not a gamer blanket. What am I saying? Jen has a weighted blanket, and you can find it and take it to bed, and it will help you relax more if you grab it. Clothes. Maybe you should take a shower before putting on a new outfit. Why did I make it's totally useless. After you take a shower, you can wear different outfits, and it does nothing. There's no point to it other than it changes a little thing. And I don't know why I added it in there other than just to prove that I could do it, I guess. Look at the window. You approach the window and pull its cord, causing the blinds to compress upwards and reveal the night sky beyond. You're in the outskirts of the city, and you can see the skyline raised steadily to a peak in the distance. Power lines crawl across the city like an electric canopy, and a soft yellow hue floods the evening sky, blocking the stars from view. You crack the window just a bit, and the sounds of the city start to flood in. The sounds of people everywhere, even at this late hour, of cars and trains and traffic rushing everywhere, of sirens and billboards and street advertisements, of electricity humming through the air. It's so sonically overwhelming, even at such a soft, distant volume, that you have to quickly close the window again. It seems deceptively peaceful with the window closed. I forget. Did I put in a weighted blanket for anxiety? Exactly. See, you know what's up, Code Zero. Oh, you have one too, Mercury. Weighted blankets are awesome. They help with anxiety a lot. It's amazing. It's not like a panacea, but it definitely helps. I think if you go to the window a second time, I think it does a separate thing. Maybe. There's no way to know. See what's inside of your chest. You walk over to the large wooden chest of drawers sitting on your floor. You suspect this is where you keep some of your clothing. When it's not on your body. The 3 drawers, top, middle, and bottom. You open up the top drawer and find that it's full of your underwear. You sift through and find that it's mostly pretty boring. Almost all your panties seem to be basic cotton. Almost all the bras you own are sports bras and the like, and everything is either in black, white, or skin tone. Probably need these after you take a shower, but you're good for right now. Middle. You open up the middle drawer. Unsurprisingly, it's filled with some of your clothing. Mostly pants and t-shirts, though you do see a few skirts in there as well. Strangely, you don't seem to own any shorts or any skirts that strap above the knee either. There's nothing in here you really want to wear right now, though. You open up the bottom drawer and find that it's chocked to the brim with sex toys? I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't own these, you suppose. You're a supposedly consenting adult, after all. But some of these seem a little more extreme than you would have guessed. Plus, didn't that form say you were asexual? What would you even all need all these for? Out of everything here, a small cloth bundle catches your eye. Come to think of it, those were probably your dilators. So one scene that I wanted to write later on, but I don't know how it'll work, is I really wanted to have a scene where Jen connects with someone who she had a sexual relationship with, but not for sexual reasons, if that makes sense. That one is definitely something that was based on a lot of my time in the kink scene here in the local area, and how it was less about sex and more about kind of an emotional release, an emotional release, whatever. Dilators look nothing like they don't. But if I'm going to pick a drawer to put them in, they're going in the same drawer. Pushing the other items aside, you grab the bundle containing your dilators. But thinking for a second, you also grab a bottle of lubricant and a towel that were inside the drawer with it. You deposit this odd assortment of objects on your bed for when you are ready to use them. Neat, I guess. Let's see. Let's check out we'll do the bookcase in a moment here. Look at the picture. There's a large framed photo on your wall, which appears to be of your family. Your 2 fathers are standing in the background wearing matching tuxedos with broad smiles on their faces, each placing an arm on your shoulder. You're in the foreground wearing a particularly beautiful white dress. What really confuses you is that your roomie is standing beside you, hand held in yours, with 2 unknown figures behind her. The 2 of you are staring at each other with broad smiles on your faces, and One of the figures behind her is looking away from the camera, wiping a tear from their eye. Were the two of you? Well, that is the thing. Coco, hello! Playing Pokemon Crystal on your PS Vita? Exactly as Nintendo intended. Good job. Welcome to 2/3 of the way through this game. Or demo of this game. And what happens at the television? I completely forget. One look at the large, dusty television tells you a lot about its history. It's definitely an older CRT, thicker than your head. It looks like you haven't moved from this spot in years. You must have been living in this apartment for a long time. You quickly flip through the channels and verify that, no, you're not getting any service on this thing. However, you note a few consoles that are sitting beside the television. One of the consoles plugged in while the other is not. Go to pick up a controller for the console that's plugged in, but honestly, you're not really sure what you'd even do right now. Owl. The device that isn't plugged in seems slightly older than the other. It's roughly cube-shaped with a large handle on the back. You don't want to mess around with the cable, so you aren't going to try and plug it in, but it looks like you haven't used it in a while. Anyway, a thin layer of dust covers the top where a logo is displayed, and the single controller that's plugged in is fully wrapped in its cable. You do see some other controllers for this device, but they're all beaten up with the padding coming off the control sticks and dent marks all over the handles. It looks like for a long time this one meant a lot to you. Enough that you kept it around even if you don't use it as much anymore. Sometime, if you have the energy for it, maybe you should figure out how to plug it back in. Anyway. An Ouya. It's an Ouya. Yes, it's an Ouya. There's no other console that could have been. It was an Ouya. Thank you, Mercury. Yeah, I don't know why. It's there. Bookcase. Okay, so when I was writing this, I had this unhealthy urge to like continually think of references to make and put them in, and I'm like, this isn't really helping anyone, because at a certain point it gets to the Borderlands effect where like you're making so many references that it just stops being like an amusing thing and just kind of starts being annoying. So I thought, what if I cordon off all of the obnoxious, unhelpful references in one area? And that's what this area is. You walk over to the large wooden bookcase standing against the wall. Its shelves are jam-packed with different books, most of which seem worn and well-read. The books are lined up 2 layers deep, with more laying on their side in the small space between each row and the shelf above. You don't really feel like reading at this moment, but it couldn't hurt to see the stuff you enjoyed. So yeah, so all this is just you pick a shelf, you get a random book from the shelf, and it's a reference to something. You pick up a book. It's about a reclusive journalist in some bizarre future. What is that one about? I think that one's Spider Jerusalem, right? Yeah, because this is the comic shelf, yeah. You pick out another book. It's a biographical comic about the author's cats, but something about it creeps you out. That's Junji Ito's Cat Diary. Pick out another book. It's about a young kid and his pet tiger. That's Calvin and Hobbes. Pick out another book. It's a horror book about spirals. Yeah, Uzumaki. And you can just go on like this. Like this top one is all comics. Ugh, references. It's Tiger King like the novel. What's on the middle shelf? It's about a veterinarian for obscenely large space animals. Oh, these are sci-fi novels. That is a reference to Supra Extra Grande by Yoss, a Cuban sci-fi writer who I heavily recommend you check out. Some of his stuff has been translated and is very good. Also a heavy metal artist, too. Pick out another book. It's about a cold, calculating accountant who takes over a continent through guile. Believe that is the Trader Baru Cormorant. Also a fantastic book. Pick out another book. It's about a man who gets falsely imprisoned and goes to great lengths to get his revenge. In space! You thought it was the Count of Monte Cristo, but no. It's The Stars, My Destination. Say metal art. I did. It's a Cuban sci-fi writer? Yeah. There's this one hold on. Let me find it. There's this one publisher that has actually translated a handful of different Cuban sci-fi writers. Yeah. So the name of the publishing house is Restless Books, And they've got a couple of different Cuban sci-fi authors' stuff published in English for the first time, which is really great. They've also got some stuff by Agustin de Rojas. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry. And all of it is very good, and I would heavily recommend you check it out. Okay, we good here. Speak Spanish, you can just read that. Well, there you go. Just, I mean, you can do that too. About a private eye that's trapped in his office. Oh, and these are like web comics and internet stuff on the bottom shelf. So, because that one's Problem Sleuth. So these are like video games and interactive media. It's about the only surviving AI of a failed generation ship. That one is Analog, a hate story. It's about a marshal who's born on one planet but rights the outlaw wrongs on a different one. That's Sparks, Nevada. Marshal on Mars. All right. There's literally nothing important there. You can just keep doing that, and there's like 30 on each of them. So, I mean, there's statistically unlikely you've seen all of them. Oh, yeah, there's going to be I never got into Homestuck. I was around Homestuck when it started, and it wasn't enjoyable to me in the same way that Problem Sleuth was, so I never really got into it. I know, shots fired. Okay, let's leave our fucking bedroom, how about? You walk out of your bedroom and take your first look around your apartment. Your door opens onto a small, carpeted hallway, opposite which is a closed door, presumably to your roomie's bedroom. You walk to the end of the hallway, which ends in a large living room. Your roomie is sitting on a large sofa opposite a flat-screen television, controller in hand. Behind her, the carpet gives way to linoleum, where you see a small kitchen situated behind a chest-height counter. There's another door here, slightly ajar, which you can see leads into the bathroom. Your roomie nods gently as you come out. Hey, babe, I want to talk to you when you have a chance, okay? No rush or anything. You can also head back to your bedroom. Now, Mercury St. Translated from Cuban, you failed as a mod. It's alright, Carlos. I'll forgive you this time. Mercury, however. God damn it, Mercury. Let's do... So I believe at this point we now have all of our objectives. Yeah, you get one of them by... So our objectives that we have to complete in this section are... Take our meds. Take a shower. Dilate. Eat something. Talk to our roomie. Let's go take a shower first. Step into the restroom and close the door behind you. It's not large, but it seems to suffice. There is a sink in the countertop to one side, a toilet sitting opposite it, and a shower across the far wall. A small alcove seems to have towels and other supplies stored in it. Listen, I know I've described a lot of effluvia over the course of this game, and there's plenty more of it to come, so I'm just going to take this one off, okay? You use the bathroom. Good for you. Don't forget to wash your hands, okay? Okay. God damn it, Mercury. I know you're trolling, but come on. The real points of interest in the bathroom. So after you use the bathroom, you have to wash your hands. Otherwise, if you try to leave, your roomie turns to you with a pained expression on her face. Honey, I know you've been through a lot and that you're not exactly operating at 100% right now, but do you think you could at least still wash your hands when you're done with the bathroom? Please? Oh, good point. So you do have to wash your hands. You approach the countertop with the sink. You should wash your hands. Wash your hands begrudgingly at your roomie's request. How dare she try to enforce practical hygiene on you? You only had to be reminded once, at least. Right then. Oh, did I put in something to track how many times you tried to leave without washing your hands? Am I that much of an asshole? I bet I did. I have... There's a medicine cabinet in front of your face. The mirror, while not particularly clean, seems to be in one piece. A sturdy-looking handle is attached to its side. And you'll notice when you get to this mirror, it's the same set of options that you're presented with when you're at the mirror in the bathroom at the beginning of the game. In exactly the same format. Turn the page, wash your hands. There you go. Praise your appearance. You don't look great. Your long, black hair feels sweaty, knotted, and matted against your back. Your glasses are hanging off the front of your nose. You're wearing a thinning pair of sweatpants and a stand-weight t-shirt you borrowed from your dad's place. Though you don't feel rank or overtly disgusting, you feel like you could really use a shower before you feel any better. And also, the description of yourself is as similar as it can be without being exactly the same. You're wearing the clothes you borrowed from your dad's place. Wearing a pair of sweatpants, which feels like a generous description to you. You can count the threads where the knees are frayed and its gray color has somehow grayed further with age. You're also wearing a cotton t-shirt that may have once been described as white. A pale pinkish stain is visible near your torso, and you can see a black sports bra through the thin fabric. Looking good, gorgeous. And anyway, enough talking about Uruguay. And pull that handle. You tepidly open up your medicine cabinet, only to discover some deodorant, a comb, a package of bandages, some pain relief pills. Not really sure what else you were expecting. You do notice a couple of small orange containers with your name on them, filled to varying degrees of pills. Those are probably the rest of your medications. You take those out for later. There's also a small container of saline solution. You should probably use that before putting your piercings back in. Alright, good. Forget how we... Let's see. Pull the handle again. You open up the medicine cabinet again as if to confirm that, yes, it is full of perfectly normal medicine cabinet things and not whatever else you were expecting. It is still full of perfectly normal medicine cabinet things. Good, good. So now that we've got all of our meds, we can take our medications. We can also put in our piercings. This is entirely optional. You don't have to do this, but I want to. So, it's my stream. We'll do what I want. You take out the small plastic bag with your piercings in and neatly lay them out on the countertop. Some of them you figure out easily. You can see the holes in your earlobes where you fit in a set of studs. With some finagling, you fit the bar in a pair of holes atop your left ear. You're left with a single rounded bar, and after some investigation, you find a hole through your septum that it fits through. You take a step back and look at yourself in the mirror. They're all simple metal, no jewels or embellishment, but you feel like they suit you. You could take them out if you wanted to, though. And there's literally no reason to do this one way or another. This is one of those decisions that does not result in any kind of change. It's just, do you want them or not? You decide to leave them in. Good choice, gorgeous. Take meds. This is the first of our actual, quests we've been given. You line up the capsules containing your medication, a collection of orange and green cylinders, stout and tall. There's 6 in all, which seems like a lot. Granted, you don't really have anything to compare that number to, but it still feels wrong, you know? You know. First, you find the medications from your own medicine cabinet. The sheet the hospital sent home with you lists the various medications, as well as your current dosages. Sertraline, bupropion, estradiol, vitamin D supplements. That's the same list that from earlier. You grab a small plastic cup from the cabinet and rinse it out in preparation. Without thinking too hard about it, you shove a fistful of pills in your mouth, swish it back with tasteless sink water, and swallow. 4 down, 2 to go. You turn your attention to the second sheet from the hospital, this one listing the medications newly prescribed. Memenotine, dentisone. You carefully measure out the recommended dosages and hold them in hand. It's so weird that such tiny capsules of chemicals have such an profound impact on your being, you think. This body will assimilate whatever you take into its being, and you'll invariably be changing how it works, even if it's for the better. Salty, the protag does not have a clit piercing. I'm sorry, I don't know what you want from me, okay? Maybe at some point. Maybe in the 3.0 update. Now, this is an important decision because this determines whether or not you take the pills that you have to take the pills that you normally take, like your mental health meds and all that stuff. But this determines whether or not your character will take their medication as directed by the hospital. And it's kind of left open to the player because like do you trust how much you trust what they're trying to do to you? And whichever way you do it, you get different kinds of information back. Not this. That's one that will play. That's the one that's supposed to play out later down the game. It doesn't play out in this one because I didn't have enough time to go further than this. But in this case, we'll throw them in the drain. This is for the best. You still don't know what they've done to you. For all you know, these medications could be keeping you from thinking clearly, inducing hallucinations, creating some new addiction, or otherwise ensuring chemically that you finish the testing period. You take a fistful of pills and throw it down the drain. Plus, that sink water's disgusting. Well, that's done. The sink, mercifully, is still functional. So we will see one result from that towards the end. I'll point that out when it comes around. Shower time. Now's a good time as any, right? You shed the clothing you've worn all afternoon into a pitiful pile on the floor, already glad for the chance to free yourself from the day's sweat and grime. Already starting to shiver in the cool bathroom, you reach past the curtain and turn the knob, causing water to spray tepidly from the spigot shoved unceremoniously through the wall above. After a few seconds, it mercifully begins to warm up to acceptable temperatures. You cautiously step into the shower basin, careful not to slip on the slick floor, and let the warm water wash over you. You tilt your head forward for a moment and relax as the warm water rains onto your neck and shoulders, loosening a tenseness you didn't even know you had. It's all you can do to not just stand there and let the water run, letting it massage your aching back and flow over your sweaty skin. You're alone in this cocoon of contentment, insulated from the world beyond the curtain. You could feel like you could stay like this forever. After letting yourself enjoy the feeling a few seconds longer, you figure you should actually start to, clean yourself. Much as you would love to remain in the water's moist embrace. Ew, why did you use that turn of phrase? You think your roomie might have something to say about the water bill. You reach out to the shelf projecting from the wall and grab the bottle of shampoo. You pump some of the goopy substance into your hand and lather it up and bring it up to your head. Your fingers start to press the soap into the base of your roots, gently massaging your aching head as it begins to foam in your hair. Your hands start to feel the contours of your head as they scrub gently against your scalp, brushed over your ears, and run down the back of your neck. It's strange not to instinctively recognize the part of you that you rely on for so much. You only ever seen your head from the front, and except for that video... Stop, you need to stop thinking like that. It's always been mirrored. You have no idea what you might actually look like to literally any other observer. You gingerly take one of your hands and slowly feel your face, letting yourself learn the contours of this foreign body, like how your nose stands out boldly from the rest of your face, how the hair feels stiffer on that mole on your neck, the bridge of your nose feels like it's crooked and offset, pronounced the cleft of your chin is, your forehead wrinkles softly as you touch it, and a bunch of other different things. I thought that was the best way to kind of show that it's like you're kind of exploring what your own body feels like without any kind of roadmap or anything. It's just like medicine might be a thing from an unethical experience. Exactly. Oh yeah, Coco. The context for the medicine flushing scene is that basically it comes down to a decision of whether or not you trust the hospital to be telling you the truth after everything that's happened in the game so far. Because the hospital is telling you one thing and you've experienced another thing, and it's up to you whether or not you trust them in that. But you don't have all the time to figure this out. You have other things to get taught to tonight. You know that. You finish massaging the soap through your greasy hair and duck back into the shower stream to rinse it out. You reach for the conditioner. You lather up the slimy substance and slick it back through your hair, running your hands through its length. It's much longer than you expect, falling about midway down your back. You gently pull it over your shoulder, combing your fingers through its length. You're supposed to let it sit for a while, right? What's next? Oh, right, soap. Grab the final bottle and carefully pump some soap out into your hands. Lather it up, wringing it between your long, rough fingers. You take the mass and start to scrub your hands down the length of your body again, experiencing the novel foreignness of your own body, like how your knees wrinkle and crease when you bend them, or how the cracks in your dry knuckles soften from being soaked, how the nails on your fingers and toes have been chewed down to the base. You're wide, your feet splay, just wider than usual. How your wide legs meet a crease in your hips. The hair above your vagina is thick and knotted. How the cracks, there's a bunch of different ones in here. But again, the focus is all on, like, how weird does it... Stop. I'm streaming. Don't call me while I'm streaming. The focus is meant to be on how strange it is to be an embodied consciousness. Like, you are in this body. Bodies are disgusting and weird. And especially given that, depending on how you view it, you are either taking up residence in someone else's body or just you don't remember anything about it. There is also the option here to do something else, and because this is stream for everyone, we're gonna skip that. You stop yourself before you can go any further. No need to make this weird, right? I'll leave it to you 18 and up folks to determine what happens if you can't live with him, can't live without him. Yet, right? Meat prison's nerfing your potential. Exactly. Damn meat suits. It's actually not weird if you decide to go that scene. It's not an actual like sex scene or anything, but I'm playing it safe here, okay? I'm playing it safe because this is getting recorded on YouTube. You turn off the water and step out of the shower, grabbing a towel from the nearby shelf. Feels really nice to dry yourself with a clean, fluffy towel, and within moments, you feel like you've been completely refreshed. You hang the towel up to dry and put on your bathrobe, ready to face the rest of your evening. Cleanliness, get! I mean, if you want to see what that section's like, and it's pretty funny, you can play the game for yourself. And you should. You walk back out into the main living space of your apartment. You can go to the kitchen, the bathroom, or the couch to hang out with your roomie. You can also head back to your bedroom. Let's talk to our roomie. You cautiously sit down on the couch beside your roomie, who turns to regard you. She's a heavyset woman with pale skin, and her makeup is done impeccably to make it look like she has none on at all. Her long blonde hair is loose down her neck in what seem like natural curls. She wears a long skirt with a frilled blouse, which seem to be nicer than anything you've seen in your room. She gives you a warm smile. Finally decided to come out, huh? She smiles gently. My name is Olivia. You always called me Liv. She pauses the game she was playing and puts the controller down on the sofa, turning to face you. How are you feeling? She cuts in before you can answer. It's okay. I know you're not going to be perfect with the whole words thing at the moment. She's not wrong. Take your time, honey. I'll be here when you want to talk, okay? She pauses. Wait. If you want to talk. It's not like you need to if you're not feeling it, okay? Okay. You nod silently. Good. She seems genuinely pleased. Feel free to chat or just hang out or whatever. You do have one burning question. What are we to each other? You finally got Crobat? Congratulations, Coco. Congratulations on your happy bat. It's kind of complicated. She stares off into the distance in thought. I'd call you my best friend. I've known you for a very long time, and you've come to me for support in the past. We did try dating once, but it was kind of awkward and didn't really work out, but I haven't really ever stopped caring about you, and I'm not going to stop now. Does that sort of make sense? I guess they were the most important person in the world to me. She turns to look at you directly in the eye. You really don't remember anything about me? I'm sorry, no. I kind of figured that. She grabs a tissue from a box off the table, blowing her nose unceremoniously. It's just that, I don't know. Figured maybe her love was too strong or something stupid like that. I didn't think you were lying to me, but that's not what I meant. She cringes and takes a deep breath, restarting her sentence a few moments later. Typos in my Twine game. It's more common than you think. Kind of hope that our relationship with each other was exceptional. And it was, for us. Just not in the eyes of the universe, I guess. She blows her nose again. I'm sorry, I'm making this all about me. You're the one who's dealing with the trauma right now, not me. I should be comforting you, damn it. It is a brutal question to ask. Yeah, it is. I'm kind of happy with how this scene turned out. There's some changes I would make to the game when I redo it, but I think this one is pretty close to how I want it to be. Depending on what you answer here, you get a slightly different conversation with her. I don't remember which one is which, so we're just going to go with this one. You're handling this pretty well. She stifles a laugh. Well, I'm glad one of us thinks so. Honestly, it's not particularly different from how she usually was. She was always so forgetful? No, that's not really the word for it. What do you mean? How did she explain it? She was always so overwhelmed. She dealt with a lot of stress, anxiety, and she'd talk about how making day-to-day decisions was so taxing for her. She'd hide it well around other people, but when we were alone, it just would sometimes just come out. Olivia snorts into her tissue again. One way she described it always stood out to me. She said it was like living with tunnel vision. Like she became so focused on getting through the moments in front of her that she wouldn't stop to actually, remember anything or internalize it or whatever. She'd fumble her way through entire conversations with people and not be able to recall any of it later on. It was like she was constantly in fight or flight mode, whatever you call that. I don't know. You get it. But I think it just exhausted her living like that. It got so bad that it became kind of her normal. Like, she was so used to getting through her days like that whenever she was actually having an important conversation, she couldn't actually get herself to be there. You know what I mean? If it was an important meeting, she always had to make notes to herself just so she wouldn't forget what was happening right in front of her. She'd be asking people to repeat themselves just to make sure she understood everything because she didn't trust her own self to remember it without prodding. She was never like that around me, though. I think that was the only time she trusted herself to let her guard down or turn herself off or whatever. She pauses. Anyway, what I'm saying is I'm used to it. Don't worry about any of that. Even if you can't piece it all together, I'm going to be here for you. Always. Hello, Will Baron. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. Hope Bug Snacks went well. I saw you were streaming that. I hope that went well. You're acting as if I'm not her. Well, you're not, right? Like, I know you're you, like, that's your body and all. But the you in your head, that's not her anymore, right? Because that her liked obnoxious avant-garde music and trashy comic books. That her would go all out at all hours of the evening to meet some random strangers and come back home at 4 in the morning to bitch at me about them. That her liked drinking her coffee in the shower and never made dinner unless it was from a microwave. That her absolutely loved both of her fathers and would cry if she had to spend more than a few hours with them at a time. That her remembered me and all the time we spent together. She sniffs. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but you can't be here. You kind of set up residence in her place, keeping it warm for her while she's away. She's gonna come back, right? Kind of just tired? Yes, I hope the stream went well. So this part right here is important because this is the first time during the game where the game asks you to assert who you think you are, and that's one of the things that the game kind of will continually prod you on as it goes on. Whether or not you think you are the same person that you were before you lost all your memory, or if you are someone entirely different. There's no real right answer. There's no right answer to it, and the people, and unfortunately we only get to talk with Liv here for this first scene, but the people you meet throughout the game will have different opinions on it. And the person I had planned for you to meet in the next scene would be someone who's very adamant that it's still you, whereas Olivia seems to be convinced that you must be someone else. And that does change how the eventual ending will turn out, how you feel about being yourself. How very existential. I know. What can I say? That's how I roll. There's also this other big red option right here, in 1 month. And that one is the only time it's different colored. We'll come back to that, because there is one more opportunity to do that section if you don't want to. Or if you want to, because that's entirely optional. And we'll be able to do it a little bit later. But for now, let's just sounds interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's important. It's about it's a game about the nature of identity, man. For now, let's say I'm going to say probably not. She looks dejectedly off to the side. Yeah, I know. Part of me knows that. I was just kind of hoping it wasn't true. I know you've probably got some of her dispositions or whatever, or maybe you're related to her somehow, but you're not her. You'll never be her, and I need to accept that. She snorts into a tissue. But as long as you're keeping the hearth lit for her place, I'll try to help you out as best I can, okay? Just ask me anything, and I'll try to answer. Okay. Now, one other thing that I changed that is going to be so much easier to do and coding it a different way. No game can be good if the main concept can't be finished with man. Exactly. So you also have another opportunity to tell her this now. We'll do that in a moment. But all of the questions and all of the ways that she will respond to your questions, because you told her that you believe that you're someone else. Now, whenever you talk to her, she will talk about Jen in the past as if she was an entirely different person. She won't try to make herself think of you as the same person. She will just talk about past Jen as if she was someone else. If you had tried to insist that you were still the same person, then Olivia would try to accommodate that and talk about you as if you had been the same person in the past. Existentialism, baby. Let's ask her some. So the big red thing. You had the opportunity earlier, and you have one more opportunity to do it now. What happens is you click on the big red thing. Something I need to tell you. You imagine what would happen if you told her everything. I wasn't in an accident. It's part of an experiment. I woke up in a bathroom. I'm in a dark basement somewhere. Dr. Mealy was there. Her real name is Dr. Suki. She showed me a video of myself. I said I agreed to be in this experiment. To my memories and storing them. Wants to interview me again. I don't know what kind of data they want from me. I don't know why I volunteered to do this. I don't know why everyone is lying to me. That is what you want to say. Do you? And this is the other big decision you can make. You don't actually have to make a decision either way here. And this concept can be very complicated. It was very complicated the way I chose to do it. It's very easier in other ways. Which is why redoing this is going to be... Which is why when I decide to finish this, it'll be done from the ground up again. But you also have the option of telling your close friends or people around you who are close to you. You have the option of telling them that none of this is happening the way the doctor said it was, and that you were actually part of an experiment. In this case, let's try to tell her. Let's see what she says to that. She stares at you silently as you explain what you think has happened to you. No, what has happened to you. You won't let them deceive you. You don't know why this is happening. You don't know why everyone is trying to convince you it didn't happen, but you have to get someone on your side. You have to. She chokes mid-sentence, pauses to catch her breath, and resumes. I don't know what to say to... She looks off to the side. Jen, that's a lot to take in. It's not that I don't believe you, but... No, wait, what I mean is, I want to believe you. I really do. You've been my closest friend for longer than I can remember, and I trust you more deeply than you know. She meets your gaze with sadness in her eyes. But you know how you sound, right? You have to know what it is that you're asking me to believe. Especially since the doctors told you, they said that you created false memories to deal with the trauma. Do you really think that happened to you, or are you... Her sentence trails off and she averts her gaze again. Honey, I want to do what's best for you and help you, but I don't know what to do right now. She sniffles and presses her wrist to her eyes, rubbing back and forth. You are the most important person in the world to me. If you really think that happened to you, then I'll trust you. I will, but if there's even a doubt in your mind, if you think there's even a chance that this is what happened to your brain, this is just what happened to your brain, would you tell me? Please? It's a conspiracy theory. Exactly. And the game is asking you to take a position on whether or not you think it's a conspiracy or not. And I tried to write Olivia to be someone who's... As someone who's known you for a while, she desperately wants to believe you and be on your side, but is also... very, very cognizant of the fact that the people who were taking care of you just said that you were creating false memories yourself, and she would be way more trusting of people in lab coats than you in that case, right? But it gives you one more chance to kind of chicken out if you don't want to. If you say, I don't know, if you say like, oh, there's still a little bit of doubt, and then you just kind of move on. But if you press it, tears well up in her eyes, but she nods solemnly. Okay, I'll believe you. She turns to the side and shakes her head. No, not will, but do. I do believe you. I just don't know what to say. I can't believe that was done to you. What kind of a horrible person would trick someone into consenting to something like that? She shivers in place. And why would they be lying to you? Think of how many people must be involved if they were trying to deceive you on that scale. She stares into your eyes with a solemnity that you have not seen before. I have so many questions I want to ask you, dear, but I do have one selfish request. You don't believe you are in immediate danger this evening, do you? You don't have any reason to think that. Then, if it's all right with you, can I have some time to think about what you've told me? I don't want you to think I'm putting you off. I'm not. I'm here. I'm with you 100%, and I'm going to do everything I can to support you. She looks off to the side. But I need some time to get my own thoughts in order. I know this is scary for you, and I will help you, but I want to make sure that I'm not making things worse, by not thinking things through. I said it was selfish, and I know it is, but I really do think I'll be better able to help you if I can put my own thoughts together first. She sniffles and rubs her arm across her eyes. Oh, great. Now I'm making it about me again. Do you want a hug? Yay. She leans in and wraps her arms around you, resting your head on your shoulder as she pulls you close. Her body is warm against yours, and something feels comforting about having her near. You wish this feeling of security would last forever, but obviously it can't. So the whole reason that after you tell her that it's a conspiracy, that she then still asks for some time is basically so I don't have to rewrite how she interacts in this scene. Right? Because rather than asking a bunch of questions now, it pops up a scene the next day where then she'll be like, okay, I've had time to think about it. And that just made putting all the scenes together that much less complicated. And I think that was all the better. Considering how many things are happening at once in this section right here, I think that's fine to do. The two of you part and she sits back on the couch. Come to think of it, I'm not really sure how our previously consensual things work if you don't remember consenting to it. She stares off in thought for a moment. Huh, weird. She shrugs it off. Whatever, just no, I won't hug you or whatever unless you tell me it's okay. Okay? Okay. And that's the big thing you can tell her. You can also ask her a bunch of other questions if you want to know more about Jen before. You can also ask her about the photo you saw on your bedroom wall. What are you... She looks at you with a shocked expression as her voice trails off, leaving her eyes to widen and giving you a questioning glare. Within a moment, however, her confusion turns to laughter. Sweet solace, you're talking about... Oh man, I thought you were serious for a second. She wipes away tears. She chokes out an explanation. That photo was from when we were both bridesmaids at my sister's wedding. Her folks were there just because they were friends with my family, and, well, we thought it was just too hilarious an opportunity to pass up, Her laughter finally dies as she takes in a deep breath. But, no way, we are not married. Not that I wouldn't love her to death, mind you, but, oh boy. Nope, none of that. Nope, oof, no. She continues chortling to herself as she rests on the back of the couch. Well, I guess that's technically an explanation. And no, she's referring to her because she's referring to Jen as if she was a different person. Jen before sounds like Jen Force and a Okay, so you know what? That's really close. The Jen in Gen 1 is actually a pun on Jen as in the Pokemon Gen. Gen 1 is a corruption of the phrase Gen 1er. And the reason for that is that it's a Gen 1er, is someone who places undue value on the first iteration of something, often overlooking the merits of the iterations that have come afterwards. And I'll leave you to decide how that is thematically relevant. can ask her, do you know anything about her? Man, I wrote a fuck ton for this. I'm just now, like, there's, like, just shy of 30,000 words in this. Holy shit. This is a lot. See no relevance here? Exactly. Don't worry about it. No relevance. None whatsoever. That's, well, actually, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable question, isn't it? She thinks for a moment longer before responding. On the whole, I think she was a pretty average person. Don't get me wrong, she adds, putting her hands up. She was fun to be around, had an amazing personality, and was generally a kind person. She takes a deep breath. But she didn't really do much, you know? Graduated high school, spent 4 years going to college, graduated with a degree, and started working 40 hours a week in retail. Never really went out, didn't have many friends, and spent most of her time alone, reading, playing video games, that kind of thing. And she was happy doing that, or at least content, mostly. She had some major bouts of depression, but on the whole, she just kept living one day at a time, you know? She pauses for a moment. I don't mean to make it sound like she was a failure for being that way. That's just how she was. Life handed her a lot, and she took what she could handle and made the best of it. That sort of makes sense? Sorta. When you weren't lying when you said it was a stretch. Yeah, right. Extremely powerful writer. I don't know about powerful writer. More like, it's just there's a lot. Some sections in this I feel like I really wrote well, and some of them I'm not as happy with. But as a proof of concept, I think this worked very well. Is this a Pokemon AU fanfic? Don't start with me, Mercury. Don't start with me. Can I ask her, do you know what happened to me? She gives you a pained look. I'm sorry, dear. I truly have no idea. She disappeared on an evening after work, as she sometimes does, and later that night I got the call from the hospital. She couldn't have been gone more than half a day, which isn't that unusual. She has friends and a life that she doesn't like to talk to me about. I know she has a moderately sketchy group of people she hangs out with, but I never got the impression they were dangerous, you know? She would have told me if she felt like she was in danger. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't help much, but I really didn't think anything was wrong until I got the call from the hospital, which now I just feel like an idiot, but that's hindsight for you. Forget. Oh, and you can ask her about herself, too, yeah. Could you tell me about yourself? Yeah, I guess if you really want to know. She sits back and thinks for a moment. I'm not particularly interesting, honestly. That's not me being modest, really. I work from home and I don't really go out that often. I play video games, listen to music, watch dumb cartoons. She drifts off for a moment in thought. Wow, come to think of it, I haven't really been doing much interesting that lately, have I? Sorry if that's kind of a letdown, but it meant a lot that I got to spend time with Jen, and the two of us just kind of made up for each other's lack of enthusiasm, I guess. We'd spend evenings just hanging out, watching foreign films, or eating nachos, and honestly, that was pretty good for me. Her eyes suddenly widen. Wait, I've got one. I play the keyboard. She pauses as if waiting for reaction. Well, that's sort of interesting, right? Right. Honestly, you're out of questions to ask at this point, and you don't want to annoy Liv by yapping her ear off all night long. You can sit and watch her play video games, and this doesn't really accomplish anything, but there's a couple of different scenes that happen in the games. Eating foreign films, watching nachos. Exactly. You watch as Olivia wanders into a small town. She takes her time and talks to the townspeople one at a time. They only have a few set lines, but it's clear that they're meant to be living their own lives and dealing with their own problems outside of what she's experiencing directly in the game. It's kind of limiting, but you appreciate how the writers try to show more depth to their world. Turns and stares directly at camera. You watch as Olivia approaches an encampment of monsters. The fire that lights up their camp is in the distance, and she's hiding in a tree nearby. It seems like all the goblins are fast asleep, so she slowly crawls into the camp and takes them out one by one. After they've all been slain, she easily loots the rest of the camp and makes off with some new gear and resources. These little things were fun. I'm glad you found them fun. I tried to put in little moments of enjoyable levity in here. You watch as Olivia sneaks up on some wildlife hiding in the foliage. 2 deer, one large and one small, stand in the middle of a plain. Rather than take out her bow, however, she instead uses some kind of magical camera and starts taking pictures of the animals. Afterwards, she has a collection of images of the 2 deer interacting with each other, including one where she took a selfie. I have half a brain cell and it's saying cursed shit. If you haven't guessed, I was playing Breath of the Wild a lot while writing this. which is the game that Liv is playing is some variant on Breath of the Wild. Let's get something to eat. You walk towards the small kitchen, and, as if on cue, your stomach lets out a small growl. Sounds like you could use some dinner. You don't have a lot of energy right now, so you'll probably want to find something low effort. You walk past the counter where two tall chairs are pulled up and step onto the linoleum floor. Jesus, I can't read. Oh, this is nice, useless, but nice. Yeah, I mean, I like that kind of thing. Like, there's moments where you sit on the bench in the game and just kind of, like, vibe. Yeah. I think those moments in games are awesome. I think they're great. They need more of them. You walk past the counter where two tall chairs are pulled up and step onto the linoleum floor. The kitchen is situated in a small, square nook in your apartment. A sink, full of dirty dishes, is situated on one of the crumb-strewn countertops that line the two of the walls. You can see cupboards line most of the same space. The third wall is occupied by a loud refrigerator and a pantry hidden behind a scuffed-up wooden door. You can also go back to the rest of your apartment. You survey the contents of the sink. It looks like dishes are piled up on one side and they haven't been touched for a little while. Yeah, that seems to fit with what you know about yourself. That's not what that should say here. Interesting. I need to fix that. Honestly, one of the other things that's going to be much better is about coding the help feature. Is that if I code it with using variables instead of the history checks, it's going to be so much cleaner. God damn. And yeah, you have to get dinner at some point. You can get it from whatever you want. There's stuff in the fridge, in the pantry, in the cupboard. We're going to check the fridge. You open up the fridge and take a look through the food inside. There isn't a lot here, but what remains seems to be long-forgotten remnants of meals past. There are a lot of half-full jars of various condiments, plastic bags of decaying fruit, and clear containers of servings of leftovers, and they all seem to be way past their expiry dates. After rifling through a bit longer, you do find a container of pasta leftovers that is dated only yesterday and should be easy enough to warm up. There's also a pull-out freezer on the bottom shelf. And you can keep looking around, but we're going to eat those leftovers. Must also get food IRL. No worries, enjoy your food IRL. You grab the plastic container and inspect it carefully. It has an indication on the bottom that it should be safe for the microwave oven, so you crack the lid and toss it in for a minute or two. While you're waiting, you look over at the counter and watch Olivia play her game. She seems to be fighting a boss of some sort. It's a large, king-like goblin in a huge bowl-shaped hole in the ground, and it continues to summon smaller goblins that harass her character as she strafes around the arena. A few of them seem to catch her off guard, and within seconds, her character is slain. You hear her muttering something rude to herself before opening the pause menu. She scrolls down a few options before finding an earlier save that she can revert to. You feel called out by this fridge description? I mean, I feel called out by this fridge description. Where do you think I got all this from? Suddenly, her character is back in front of the arena, sword in hand, looking ready for battle. Her health and magic meters are back to maximum, her items have been restored, and she looks no worse for the wear. The microwave lets out a small chime, letting you know the leftovers are ready. You remove the plastic container and put the top into the sink, letting the steam waft off your pasta. You bring your food to the counter and lean against it, watching as Olivia enters the arena for the second time. She seems to change up her strategy, camping the boss from a distance and hitting it with long-distance attacks instead of strafing and looking for an opening. While it looks promising from the start, the boss soon changes tactics and starts launching powerful long-range attacks. Though she dodges well, she gets driven into a corner and hit by a stray attack. Letting out another groan, she opens up the menu again and reverts to an earlier save. You stick your fork in and grab a mouthful of rewarmed pasta and sauce. Unfortunately, some of the center bit is still cold, but you don't really feel like warming it again. Olivia looks as if she's ready to go again, though before going in the arena this time, she spends a long time casting a series of buff spells on herself. She stands there. Part of you wonders what happened to all of her other characters in the prior iterations, sent out to live and die only to have their entire existence written away on someone else's whim. What happens to all those memories, those experiences when the game is reset? Did they never happen in the first place? Well, no, that can't be true. Someone else, Olivia, was there to remember them. Does that mean they only existed as far as she remembers they did? What happens to all those characters who lived for only a few moments? Is her current character still even the same one anymore? Is the current one in the only one that can claim to be the original, or has the original been gone since the first reset? It's all so very confusing. And yet, they're just characters in a video game, right? It's not like they have actual internality or anything. You don't even know why you got so worked up in the first place. You quickly finish the rest of your dinner in silence, putting your used dishes in the sink. At least you're not hungry anymore. Is Olivia based off... Olivia is not based off of Vivian, no. Olivia is not based off of Vivian. She might she might occasionally inherit a Vivianism here or there, but no. The characters in this game are not based off of anyone IRL. Also, yeah, another scene that is, stares at camera. This isn't thematically relevant or anything. Don't worry about it. Alright. All that's done. You can also make yourself a drink while you're in the kitchen. You can make yourself like a... you can have like a warm... you can make yourself some tea or coffee, or... I think you can also make like sake or something. You have options. Yep, no relevance to the plot at all. Nope, no sirree. Don't know what you're talking about. Now, the last thing you have to do is, before you can move on, return to your bed when you're ready. You have to use your dilators. I went back and forth on whether or not I thought this scene should be in there, because on one hand, it is a little bit gratuitous and involves, naked bits that are usually not, that people usually don't interact with. But on the other hand, I felt it was relevant not only in kind of hitting home the theme of being uncomfortable in one's body, but also highlighting the fact that Jen has already gone through a lot to modify her own body to make it more comfortable to live in, and that who she becomes and who she wants to be is not limited by the body she finds herself in, which again, definitely not thematically relevant in any way, right? Okay, philosophy student pro tag, it's just a game. What do you... Listen, I gotta use my philosophy degree on something, okay? But that was my thought behind the scene. I really don't know if it's as good as I think it is, or if it... But it definitely doesn't... It feels like something that felt right to put in there. Also, more games of trans people just being trans. Anyway, if audible descriptions of people doing things with their naughty bits that aren't sexual but still are their naughty bits, if that is alarming to you, go ahead and just mute the stream for 5-10 minutes. And if you're cool with it, let's go. You're not really sure how you're meant to do this, honestly. According to the directions, the point is to expand your vagina for an extended period of time. What kind of an angle would even be optimal for that? Without much else to think of, you push the blankets to one side of your bed and set the towel down on the sheets. After another thought, you take your pillows and prop them up against the back of the bed. There. Perfect. Means as to the bodies are gross and everything is pain. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like that's the biggest point behind it. Well, you're gonna have to get naked at some point. You shrug off your clothes and discard them on the floor, then lay down on top of the towel, back propped up against the pillows. It's weird being exposed like this. You haven't had many opportunities to just kind of look at your body, to see the ways its years of life have molded it. You wish you had worn a t-shirt because it's frickin' cold like this. You stare at your dilators, each larger than the last, before slowly realizing that you don't know which one you're supposed to be using. It's probably the big one? Maybe? Not wanting to chance it, you grab the smallest of your dilators, smear some lubricant on the end, and place it at the entrance to your vagina. Fuck! That's even colder. Goes in easily, however coldly, and within a minute or so the dilator is resting comfortably inside of you. You lean up a bit and look down to discover that you've gotten the smallest blue dilator past its final tick mark. That's something, isn't it? Come to think of it, that went in pretty easily. You're probably supposed to be using the bigger ones. With a sigh, you grab the next biggest dilator. Slide out the smallest blue dilator and start to lubricate the next largest one, the green. It takes a bit more effort, and you need to move slowly, but with some effort, it fits inside. You feel slightly fuller with the blue one, but it still fit inside relatively easily. You're feeling pretty comfortable with the green one, so you decide to let this one dilate or whatever. You didn't really think to grab a book or anything, so you just sit for a while and think. You're really good at thinking. One such thought, why do you even have to do this in the first place? You do have some vague idea why this is necessary, though you really haven't spent a lot of time yet thinking about what that means. Mostly because you don't want to deal with the implications of having changed your body so much about your own body. Like, how long have you been like this? How long did it take before you made these changes? Were you afraid? Did you grow up alienated by your own body, watching in horror as it grotesquely distorted its image around you, trapped inside a prison of meat as it curled and wound beyond your reach? Or were you, like, chill about it? You don't think you would have been, like, chill about it. It doesn't seem like you. For what you feel has been an adequate amount of time, you slowly slide the green dilator out of you and place it next to the blue one. There's still one more, the largest orange one. Come to think of it, you probably should be using the largest one by now, shouldn't you? Out of curiosity, you lubricate the top and try to slide it in. Within moments, however, you are met with resistance. Maybe it's because you haven't done this in a few days? Regardless, you resolve to move slowly and see how far you can get, pushing in a little bit every few minutes or so. It's actually kind of amazing that your body has even changed this much. It's almost baffling how much the flesh of your own body has become malleable, either when directed by chemicals and hormones or directly altered by surgery. Perhaps you're not limited by the meat of your body after all. Imagine suddenly out of nowhere, Vag expanded appears in Dark Souls text. I need to do that. That's really great. Vag expanded. After a few more minutes and no more progress gained on the orange dilator, you decide you've had it enough and start to slide it out. Earlier, you thought you might have gotten turned on by doing this, but in retrospect, it was just another chore. It's not like you didn't feel anything. You definitely felt something, but it felt kind of orthogonal to the whole exercise. No matter what you did, you still would have been stuck stark naked on your bed with a cold plastic rod shoved up your vagina. Nothing else to do but wait. You discreetly bring the bundle of dilators to the bathroom and wash them off, and take some time to rinse off your lower body. Afterwards, you secure everything back into the bundle and place it back in your drawers for later. Next time, you resolve to wear a t-shirt and to bring a book. Noun verb is perfect comedy when done right. It is so good. It is really good. Okay, good. So that is all of the objectives in this area. There are other things you can do. Small, but they're all other, like, smaller things. So I'll leave it to y'all to durdle around with it if you feel like playing around with that. Come to think of it, you don't have anything else you need to do tonight. In fact, you feel like you could fall asleep. Why is my phone not staying on? I want to read the chat, please. God damn it. So once you've accomplished everything, you can go to bed and fall asleep. Finally, after an evening that seemed to last forever, you have nothing else left to do but go to sleep. All at once, the stress and weariness of the day that you've been putting to the side seems to hit you. I realized I put "at once" twice in that sentence. Again, professional writer right here. And all you want to do is crawl beneath your blankets and go to sleep. Sleep doesn't come easily, but the comforting weight of your blanket prevents you from feeling exposed and unnerved. You toss and turn in restlessness for what feels like hours. When sleep finally does come to take you, it's a welcome relief from your helpless insomnia. And we're almost at the end of the demo. But first, you gotta remind yourself that that's another phrase that I keep trying to find ways to bring up as often as I can. You deserved this. And I don't want to spoil why, in case I do finish it, but, Week 1. Finds basic tasks exhausting, trouble with basic upkeep of self, reclusive, reluctant to reestablish relationships, sluggish, lethargic, struggles with sense of identity, recovery slow, memory foggy, shakes, vomiting. Nota bene, recognizes nature false memories, success likely. And that's almost the end of the first game here. Of the first game, the demo here. I've had this thing about continuity, you see. Since my long ago realization that people were true only when they were continuous. That line from The Unsleeping Eye by D.G. Compton has been stuck in my head ever since I read it for the first time, so it's obviously very informing of the subject here, and I had to find a way to work it in. Also, special thanks to Vivian. Big reveals, big recontextualization. I love Vivian. I wish she was here, but she's got to be at work because one of us has to have an actual job. And then I did a quick thank you so much for reading this far. It means a lot to me that you truly took the time to do so. Talk about how it's my first Twine project and all that stuff. And then there was one more scene at the end. How are those results looking so far? I mean, okay, I guess. You guess? That's it? What do you want from me? It's only been a week. She hasn't left her home. She only talks to her roommate. She isn't interacting with the world in any meaningful way. I told you she was a bad candidate for Scummer. I don't pay you to vet my candidates, Suki. Yes, ma'am. You only pay me for my expert analysis. I also don't pay you to sass my directions. Pretty sure that comes free of charge, babe. Not now, Suki. Just keep me informed. Yes, ma'am, Kusanagi, ma'am. And again, because I can't think of names, she's named after the Major. But we don't know who that is yet. That is the end of the demo. And that is also the end of everything I've ever written in Twine. Woo! Scummers and safe scumming. That's exactly what it is, Coco. It is named after safe scumming. Oh, thank you, Raina. The Major's behind all of this? Yeah, exactly. There you go. Clutch timing. Nice. Sorry to stream. No worries. I'm sorry. I was streaming at the same time. Oh, Victoria. Oh, thank you, Victoria. I appreciate it. It's interesting when you first played it because it was the only time she wasn't mean. Yeah, that's also true. If you haven't seen her not mean before. Curtain falls. So that's where I left the demo for that. I do have the rest of the story planned, and I really do want to get to it, but it's so much work, and it's going to need to be remade from the ground up. It's something I want to do, but I want to finish my kinetic novel first. That way I've finished like something of that length and feel a bit better about it before trying to go back into the weeds and making something more No need to be sorry, as I also say sorry for yeah, I feel that. Also happy. Oh, thanks, Coco. Thanks everyone for coming by. That's everything I have ever written in Twine. It would do me a huge. It would, if this is the kind of thing you like, it would be incredibly helpful to me, and you also might enjoy it if you would check them out on 8pr.itch.io. If you played them for yourself, and if you left a rating on them, if you do so. Leaving a rating is what helps them show up in the itch algorithm, so that's what helps more people see the kind of things I write. Thanks for the Twine and Dine and happy birthday again. Thank you. Thank you everyone who came out for this. I'm old and tired now, the big 3-0. And all I've got to show for it is this silly YouTube channel. Seriously though, thank you everyone. It means a lot to me. Happy Bort Day, Bort. I'm going to keep making shorter things for now on Twine. One of the things I'm doing is taking an actual writing course so I can actually kind of like learn how to do what I've been trying to stab at for a while. And I want to finish my kinetic novel. And once I do that, I think I'm going to finally come back and restart this project here. And when I do that, I really hope that y'all enjoy the ending. She's one of my absolute favorites. I'm so glad you love it. I'm really glad that my reaction to that is different from everyone else's, because I look at it now and I'm like, oh, I need to fix the timing on this sequence. Oh, this part here is off just a little bit. But I'm glad that other people are still enjoying it. Tried Skillshare with the great courses. Shut the fuck up, Mercury. Apogee's the best finished one of my. I'm glad to hear it. Only got the end, but oh, thank you, Luke. That's quite all right. Again, if you want to do me the favor, the best thing you can do is play them on itch, leave a rating on itch, and then that helps more people find them on there. All right, I'm still taking tomorrow off of streaming because I don't need a reason. I'll be back on Tuesday next week, and we'll do more Toho and Dendara. That's all I got for you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I hope you have a wonderful day. Like, comment, subscribe, and support us on Patreon if you want to.